Morning all. Morning. Cyril Mayas, morning, Sir. Aline Lewis, morning. Rukmin Gangadine, morning to you. Margaret Thomas, morning, Margaret. Jean Clark, morning. Annette Beard, morning. Carol Boyce John, morning, Carol. Let's see. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning. Terence Cummings, morning, Sir. Cheryl Lewis, morning to you. Oria Ghani, morning. Althea, morning to you. Wazid, morning, sir. Althea says happy 62nd. Yes, belated independence greetings to all. But as I know, there are people who celebrate their birthdays. They celebrate for the whole month. Some people celebrate for the week. So we still celebrating Trinidad and Tobago's 62nd birthday as a independent nation. J Dimple 66. Morning, Jennifer Nicholas. Morning to you, Ruben Rogers. Renwick Roberts. Morning, sir. Ria Ed Joyce Philip. Morning, St. James the Just Spiritual Baptist Church. Morning to you from all the way in Canada. Morning. Glenn Richardson, Patricia McKenzie. Morning. Leon Joseph, Ray. Morning to you guys. Morning, Shah. Kathy Ann Best. Gabriel Philip Anon. Morning. See who we have on Facebook. Rosemary Hadley. Morning to you. Minad Lazari. Morning, Estra. Jennifer Dorset. Morning, Jennifer. Gloria Lydia Lazari Green, morning. Sarah Richards, morning to you. Morning, Diane. Annette Baird, Clay Carrington, Adriana Alexis, morning, guys. Sarah Richards, Candice Joseph, morning. Where's Roxanne with my brooms this morning? Where is Roxanne? I'm not seeing Roxanne. We see Shuland Bodie, is it? Morning, Susan Ross. Annie Frederick, morning, Annie. Daniela Williams. Morning to all of you guys. Philomena Collins, morning. And this is the first day of September. So I see some people already starting to put up Christmas posts because they figure as soon as September steps in, well, it's Christmas. 100 days of Christmas starts on the 23rd of this month. So, John Edwards, morning to you. Eva Smith Spivey. Sonia Edwards, morning. And let me again say happy independence greetings to all of the members of the recalcitrant minority who are all over social media talking about 62 years and we are nothing to celebrate, but we're celebrating about the wish me no happy independence because they're not celebrating oppression. These people really know what oppression is. You really know what oppression is? All we're talking about we oppressed and rowdy and this government oppressing the poor and oppressing the citizens of the Trinidad. You all really know what oppression is? I don't think you all understand what oppression is. Right? Because if you were oppressed politically, you wouldn't even be allowed to make those statements on social media. Right? So stop making a mockery of the people around the world who are really oppressed now. Oppressed by their government. Yeah? You're not oppressed. Because when I saw yesterday video footage of people and what it was in the paint or independence, what appeared to be thousands of persons in red paint, covered in red paint, singing the national anthem. Poor raising to see that video. People who normally wouldn't care to sing the anthem, I'm sure some of them they probably don't even know the words of it. But nonetheless, it was something good to see. And if only we could be like that for the entire year, that would be great. Because I'm sure I probably had one or two persons in that crowd who probably would be of interest to the police. Right? But yesterday they decided to, ease us up a little bit with this crime situation, all of these murders, and just partake in the festivities of the day. Right? So, yeah, all these struggling people who can't afford to, who still working on 2013 salaries and who can't afford to buy books and stationery for their kids to go to school. But I don't think that event was free. But they were there in their numbers. But we're suffering. Things bad, the economy going through. All of that. Riri says I decided to the right key. Yes, I took note of that. Commendations to them. They did very well. Very, very well. Denise Cummings, Georgie Alman, Alison Boyce, morning, Alison. Yeah, so again, good Not for the first time in a very long time, after years-long hiatus, 7 members of the opposition decided to make their presence felt at yesterday's Independence Day parade in the Queen's Park Savannas. As we know, for years we've not seen them. They have willfully chosen to absent themselves from the proceedings for the last how many years. However, it is to be noted that there are 25 of them in the parliament, 19 in the lower house, 6 in the upper house, and only 7 of them showed up. So from the upper house, we had 2. We had Wade Mark and Damian Lyda, and the lower house, we had Anita Haynes, who is one of the dissidents, Rishi Sicharan, David Lee, Rudy Indar Singh, and Khadija Amin. And Khadija took one picture, and all of them who were there, who have a social media presence, sharing this one picture. Hey, look, we outside, we reach. What the wonders that an election year could bring, right? Because they probably say, now, we can't get early and PNM the opportunity to say for yet another year, the unpatriotic opposition has chosen to absent themselves from the one of the main events, one of the main national events that is held on the 31st of August every year, right? So 7 of them represented. Their political leader didn't see it fit to show up, so she remains obstinate in her position, and she's not participating until she returns as Prime Minister, and then she's obligated to come, right? I noted, I saw the television cameras would have spanned the expanse of the venue, and I didn't, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see Captain Audacity, also known as Gary Griffith. I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it. I didn't look at it in its entirety. Maybe he was there. I don't know. If anybody saw him there, let me know. But he always has a lot to say about the country. Philip Alexander, did you see him there? I didn't see him there. Inchan Ishmael, did you see him? I didn't see him. All of these people who love to come on social media and bad talk the country and bad mouth the country, where were they? Did they show up to applaud the armed forces? Did they show up to applaud the men and women who, some of whom put their lives on the line every day to protect us? Even though, yeah. Whether they be working in the hospital or the police or the fire, did they show up to show their appreciation? No, they did not. But they all of them had things to say on social media yesterday. Right? After 62 years, we are nothing to show for a time. Okay. Nothing to show after 62. No problem. But they are the ones who want to come back as, they want to be given the opportunity to govern the country. Okay, not surprised. So, quite a few things to talk about, but in the interest of time, I will just touch on about 3 of them today. Let me see this here. Right, let me get this. So, I see WASA found a new CEO. The gentleman is a Kittitian. He's from St. Kitts and Nevis, and is not sitting well with the fully duns, who seem to have an issue with him, and they are of the view, that the government doesn't appreciate qualified nationals, and they're always outsourcing and all this kind of foolishness. And if they couldn't find a national here, and all of that, right? Let me get this here. Where is it? Where is it? This one. I don't want us to on that for too long because I need to play a clip that is a little lengthy. Let me get it here. So, right. His name is Keith Roy Halliday, and he is set to become the new CEO of WASA effective the 1st of November 2024. Mr. Halliday is currently the CEO of the Barbados Water Authority, and he has been there for the past 7 years. Right, so he's been heading up Barbados's water authority for the past 7 years, and he has decided that he wants to leave there now and he wants to come to Trinidad and to offer us his expertise to perhaps turn around our water authority. So when this was posted yesterday, and you read in the comments, the fully dance, this government thing, they're sending a signal to the young people of this country. It don't make sense for you to go and study hard and get your degrees and so on, because educated people ain't getting no opportunities in this country and they rather outsource it to foreigners and the like. as if the only thing that you need to get this job is to have a bachelor's and a master's. And you see, that's the mindset of some people in this country. Figure because you have more degrees than a thermometer, that means that you could serve in any capacity and run any organization. As someone who has had the privilege of sitting on a few interview panels with a view to hiring senior executive staff as high as a CEO, I can tell you, degrees alone ain't cutting it. Because all those degrees tell me is that you're very good at passing exams and you're good at studying, you're good at head knowledge. I want to know that you have the capacity and the ability to put what you learned into practical use, right? And then so to do that, I need to have an interview. I need to see you. I need to talk to you. I need to feel you out, right? Because we know in this day and age, we have people sitting in the parliament with fake doctorate. Yeah? In the past and in the present, we know under the previous administration, we had the fake people's crew, persons who were being appointed as chairman and vice chairman of state enterprises and the like, being appointed as CEO and general manager of state entities, claiming that they had degrees from this university and that university. And when the investigations were done, turns out that all of these degrees were fake, bogus. We even had a minister of government who they were referring to as the super minister because of the ministries that he was responsible for more than one ministry at the time. And he is Dr. So-and-so. Turns out that the university that he got his degree from was whatever they call it, a degree mill. You know, they just set up this bogus thing, and you spend some money and you get a degree, you get a doctorate and whatnot. You do 1 or 2 courses, and they hand you a doctorate and say, look your certificate, you can now call yourself doctor. Turns out the university is now defunct, right? And therefore, another member of that party who was at one point in time the head of the National Petroleum Company of Trinidad and Tobago. So it was reported that his degree also, his doctorate also bogus. Yeah? But that was typical for them. So degrees alone ain't cutting it. You want to see some experience, among other things. But they upset because this man, so apparently Barbados had no issue with him being from St. Kitts. He's been working in Barbados for the last 7 years, and clearly they're pleased with what he has been doing. So he good enough for Barbados, but he ain't good enough for Trinidad and Tobago. Right? But the same fully done so have a problem with this gentleman coming to head up WASAC. Had no problem when their political leader as Prime Minister brought 2 Canadians to head up the TTPS. That was all right. They applauded that like some circus seals. Yeah. So they have a problem with this gentleman coming here to do something. There would have been an interview panel and they would have had a list of criteria that they would go through to determine whether or not he's the right fit. So they complaining, they couldn't find a local. They could only work with who applied. So if it is people who you think might be qualified, did they apply? So what you figure the board or the interview panel, they have superpowers to be able to sit down in a room and know, like Professor X, he could put on Cerebro and could read everybody's minds and see who has the qualifications and the degree to serve. If the people did not apply, then you select them. So you select from who you have, who applied for the work. But like they don't understand that. And as I said before, I would have had the opportunity to sit on a panel to interview people for senior positions. And aside from the academic, we look for experience, but you try to feel out the person's personality. Because they can be very well qualified on paper. They can have the experience, but they have a toxic personality. And the last thing that you want to do is to bring somebody into your organization whose personality is toxic, whose management style might be autocratic, right? And they just come and upset the whole apple cart. And the next thing you know, every Monday morning you have to be conducting interviews to replace the people who submit their resignation letter because they can't work with that person. So these are some of the things you have to look at, but they're complaining. They have a problem with a foreigner coming to head up WASA. Well, let me remind them of something, right? Lest they forget. Senior Trinidad and Tobago judge to preside over Turks and Caicos Appeal Court. This is Wednesday, 24th of April, 2024. The judiciary's second most senior judge has bid goodbye to the court where she has presided for almost 3 decades. However, Justice of Appeal Alice York Suon is not hanging up her robe, but will take up the position of President of the Court of Appeal in the Turks and Caicos on April 27th. On April 24th, she presided over the last of her appeals at the Court of Appeal, where she was praised for her contribution to the jurisprudence and development of judicial education, particularly in criminal law. So she is now in the Turks and Caicos, serving as the president of their Court of Appeal. So the highest position in the Court of Appeal in the Turks and Caicos is held by a Trinidadian citizen, a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, not a citizen of Turks and Caicos. You see, the citizens of that country burn down the place because a treaty comes to head up. She's basically the equivalent of well, I suppose probably like the Chief Justice or something like that. Right? She's the head of the Court of Appeal. I mean, come on. What is their issue? So our nationals could go abroad and head up corporations and so on, and in this case, serve as president of the Court of Appeal in another country. But foreigners mustn't come here and do the same. So we are not about equal opportunity for everybody. We live in a global village. All you need to behave all your blast itself. Xenophobia, ease us up with that now. Another one, Trini appointed vice president of Nike. 10 years ago, Devin Badal left TNT to settle in Miami, Florida in the United States. Today, he has charted a significant course as he has ascended to the position Vice President of Operations at global sportswear leader Nike. The journey to this point, he explained, had come from a place of culture shock as he moved from working in various arms of the government, including the police service and the office of the Prime Minister in Trinidad. He said, I grew up in Trinidad in Princestown and I started going to UE. After I did my bachelor's degree, I started my master's degree right after. At the same time, while I was doing my master's degree, I used to work for the TNT Police Service as a crime analyst looking at data analysis. Data was brand new back then. The police service was new, or rather was now being introduced to data, so identifying crime patterns, trends, and things like that. After TTPS, I went to work for the Integrity Commission, investigating senior government officials. But after getting married, he migrated and encountered a major shift. He moved to Miami. When he moved to Miami, I got a job at the University of Miami Health Systems, which is focusing on systems as a project manager. I was analyzing the performance of the company and, just starting off in the US. He goes on to say everything is performance measurement, whatnot and stuff. Badal, who is 35 years old, said from there he noticed there was a greater emphasis on efficiency and bottom line. Long story short, he is now Vice President Operations for Nike, right? So he's a senior executive at Nike, which is an international corporation. What's the issue? And we applaud things like that when it is nationals of Trinidad and Tobago get big positions such as that and they put us on the map. So what the hell? Ease us up with all this stupidness. Now every little thing all you have to make an issue about? Pathetic. Really? Pathetic. That's all I would say on that. Right? Allow the man. He come, let him come and let's see what it is that he could do. Right now, the CEO of Heritage is a foreigner, Eric Cascula. And he seems to be doing a very good job in terms of the type of revenue and profits that Heritage is earning and generated. So what was the problem? Anyway. So, let me see. So, right. So let's get this here. Just so the minute school reopens tomorrow, for some of us that spells a traffic nightmare, but we are accustomed. So the Minister of Education, I think it was on Friday, invited the Member of Parliament for San Juan Barataria, or is it Barataria, wherever it is, along with the parents and the Parent-Teacher Association of St. George's College for a walkthrough. But I guess the communique that was sent out to them said that they would be invited to the reopening of St. George's College, which, as we know, for the last couple of years has been out of commission, where the students were operating out of, I think, is the Balcine Teachers College or something like that, right? And so it is now in a state to once again accommodate students, albeit that there's still some work to be done on the school, right? But the minister and the ministry is of the view that sufficient repairs were done to be able to accommodate the students for this new term. So apparently during the walkthrough, the member of parliament was dissatisfied with some of the things that he saw because there was still work ongoing and the intention was to have it completed over the weekend. But he ended up in a little exchange of words with the minister, as many of you may have seen online or seen on video, where he's telling the minister, but I got a invitation telling me I'm coming to the reopening of the school, and what I'm seeing here, and work is still being done, and repairs still being done, and this and that, and the minister had to, kind of tell him, calm down, calm down. She was then fielding questions from parents and so on. One parent, who I think is part of the PTA, was telling the minister, again, if you look in the video, that during the walkabout, she noticed some rusty chairs and stuff that for the students to sit on. The minister said, oh, look, all of the furniture and the like that is currently in Valsain, where the students have been for the last couple of years, will be coming here. The parent goes on to say, yeah, but that's not what we were heard, and that's not. The minister says, yeah, but I am the minister, and I am telling you, the furniture from Valsain is coming here. So it doesn't matter what you heard from anybody else or what anybody else tell you. I am the minister. I am in charge of the ministry. I know what arrangements have been put in place, and I am telling you that the furniture from Valsain is coming here. Well, of course, the loudmouth lout, that bald-headed fool, didn't miss the opportunity this morning to do a doubles and coffee to talk about that and how the minister arrogant and she wants to talk to the parents and them as if, that's her children and what's it. But we're not going to focus on him this morning, right? Also, too, I think on Friday, the minister would have opened 2 new primary schools, which were built under this administration. So maybe somebody should send that memo to the leader of the opposition, because I played for you where on Monday last, she said, this government has built absolutely nothing in the last 9 years. They haven't built any hospitals. They haven't built any schools. They haven't built any houses. They have built nothing, right? Well, 2, I don't know if it is that she would have seen that story yesterday, but 2 schools which this government built, unless it's the elves, and the elves handed over the schools to the minister last week, and she was able to open it on behalf of the elves, or these things were ordered by themselves. Yeah, just like the 10 plagues, ordered by themselves, had nothing to do with, right? The minister opened, right? So we saw the stories, right? And it was reported that the 2 schools cost 31 million to 2 schools, right? Not 31 each. When I read some of the comments from some of the people, the usual suspects now, the fully does. No way. 2 schools could cost $31 million. That's robbery thing. Ate our food. Pay them. They want to know, file freedom of information request, because how 2 primary schools could cost so much money and all of this different nonsense. We come into that just now, right? But I just want to go back to the issue of the state of the school and readiness. So the minister said some $10 million would have been spent to facilitate repairs. As she said before, the school had been shut down when she had done a walkthrough. The ceiling, the entire roof needed changing. Ceilings, some classrooms were in a mess, and a lot of work had to be done. And still there is ongoing work to be done, right? But what was done so far, she said, cost 10 million. And some people have an issue with that figure too. So you have people like Inshan Ishmael, yeah, the usual suspects, put up a post on his Facebook page. I'm just going to read it briefly. Here what it says. Just no. No, we'll touch on that one another time. My elder daughter attended St. George's College, and her classroom was in a mess. So together with a few parents and friends, we gutted the entire classroom, replaced the ceiling, lighting, electrical, and painted all the furniture and walls. Total average cost was $4,500. I personally saw what less than $5,000 in material and labor could have done. I was privy to videos and pictures where the minister claimed 10 million was spent. Well, someone had to explain when 9 million went, FYE on Monday morning, right? So he's going to file a freedom of information request to get a detailed breakdown of what that $10 million was spent on. But he is saying that he was able to do a whole classroom, replace the ceiling, lighting, electrical, painted all the furniture and the walls, and it cost about $4,500. Well, I need to probably hire him and his friends to come and do some work for me, right? Because I have done some work in my home where just to put in gypsum ceiling like this one, right? Alone, You're talking materials and labor and so on, would have cost me close to 5,000 just to do the ceiling alone. Fairly large size room, right? What is the average cost that I've paid for all the rooms, per room that I've done so far? But he's telling you for 4,500, labor included. So you replace the ceiling. So you would have had to hire labor to remove the old ceiling, put in, and get rid of that, put in the new ceiling. Lighting, so you have to purchase the lighting fixtures. You have to do over the electrical according to him, and paint all the furniture and walls. So you have to buy the paint and all of that, and you paid for labor too. So parents and friends came together, but you had to pay for labor. I'm confused. So is it that the parents wanted payment? How much you paid them? $4,500 to do all of that. Really? You know, they figure everybody dotish. Everybody's stupid. Right? $4,500 to do all of that. Ceiling, lighting, electrical. I don't know. Well, I don't think they put in gypsum, so they probably put in the ceiling tiles and all of these different things. You know, the drop ceiling and all of these different things. Right? But he's telling you $4,500 inclusive of labor and material. Buy paint to paint the furniture and paint the walls and all of that. You gotta buy paintbrush and all of these different things. And it costs $4,500. In Ishmael, I need to send you a copy of my birth certificate so you could see I wasn't born yesterday. Or I wasn't born last week. But file a freedom of information request. You know the issue I have with them? He come and he put up that and he basically making an allegation of corruption, right? That money, thief, bubble, whatever. He will file his freedom of information request. And when they get it, and the information that they get substantiates what the minister would have said, it is the last you will hear about that. But he would have already sown the seeds of corruption allegation in the public space. So it's already there, and you're going to hear the fully done talking about that. Yeah, you see, they spent $10 million on St. George's, and so he do a whole classroom for $4,500. Scope of works, you don't even know what it is. How long ago your daughter left St. George's? How long ago did you do this job? All of that. You didn't see all of that. But you want to come and tell us you're going and file freedom of information request to take up people's time in the ministry now, or EFC, or whoever it is doing the work, to take up their time for them now to have to come and do this, to go through all this, to submit all of these things for you to respond. And then when you get the information, you go through, yeah, this looking correct. All right, forget that. We're not going to pursue that anymore. But the damage has already been done because we've already sown the seeds in the minds of the population that this was a corrupt project. No problem. All right. Now, I just want to say this. When this administration came in 2010, I'm going to watch your time there because I said I have something else that I need to deal with. So half of what I want to talk about, I can't talk about it today. When this administration came in, remember they were here in the previous administration built 106 schools. 106 schools. But they didn't tell us the debt for this so-called 106 schools that they built, that they left this administration with. Newsday article dated Friday the 24th of May 2019, entitled Government Saddled with $3 billion School Bill. It will cost the government nearly $3 billion to complete, upgrade, and outfit over 100 schools, school construction projects gifted to them by the previous administration. In a joint press conference today at the Ministry of Finance Planning, Minister Camille Robinson-Regis, Finance Minister Colm Imbert, and Education Minister Anthony Garcia sought to clarify statements made by the opposition, including former Education Minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh, that the former government had built 106 schools, some of which had since been laid to waste. Imbert said $700 million has been spent so far on these incomplete, imaginary schools, which doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. He said it will take $2.8 billion to complete the projects. The government also has to settle nearly $2 billion in debt, legal costs, and claims from contractors against EFCL. The EFCL faced much litigation and judgments against them, including one creditor who succeeded in having the agency's accounts frozen, Robinson-Regis said. Imbert added that the government has sought alternative forms of funding for the company. Staff at the EFCL have not been paid for nearly 2 months, but Imbert said that should be settled by Monday. Right? So, Garcia said the government will focus on 27 schools it deems a priority, after which it will focus on the rest. Imbert admitted that the government's plans for education had been stymied because of the need to settle these outstanding issues. He said the government had raised a $400 million bond, which it has used to pay off some of the debts to the contractors. It will go to market again to raise another 917 million bond to pay for the completion of the 27 schools. And Gopi Singh did not respond to Newsday's call for comment. I wonder why. So they boasted, we built 106 schools. How it was paid for, right? Because the contractors say, well, hey, PP in power. Yeah, all your bill, just bill. And whatever bill we send to them afterwards, we know they won't pay it eventually. Yeah? I would love to know what was the procurement process for this 106 schools that they claimed they built. What was the procurement process? Because I can't understand how all of these contractors were so eager and willing to use their own resources to build all of these schools. And then this government comes into power and finds that they are saddled with a $3 billion debt left behind by the People's Partnership. The government that tells us they had the highest energy revenues in the country's history. But in addition to this $3 billion debt for all of these schools that they started to build and owing money to the contractors, the government also inherited the debt of having to pay back pay for the 14% increase that they gave to public servants. Let us not forget that, right? This new expenditure, recurrent expenditure, in addition to the back pay, this administration was saddled with that. And then you have the leader of the opposition now, who was then Prime Minister, coming to tell you, well, had my government been in power, we would have borrowed to pay. They would have borrowed. So they had no money. They would have borrowed to pay the back pay and to pay the new salaries. But they lost office, and so it fell to this government to inherit that debt. You all, yeah, come, 14%. But you had no idea as to how you're going to pay the back pay, where the money going to come from, but we're going to figure it out somehow. Let's just focus on winning the election, and we'll deal with our headache after. Right? So $3 billion for schools, the 106 that they say they built, the imaginary schools. You all remember let me give you all this one as well. In addition to that, let's see what's the time there. Let me see, what is it, boy? $3 billion, here what's all here? Where that come from? Guardian article dated the 13th of the 11th, 2015. Workers caught backdating deals. A secret contract millhouse was discovered at the Education Facilities Company Limited in Maraval, and armed guards have been called in to secure a mountain of potentially damning evidence, which points to the illegal manufacturing of backdated tender documents worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The discovery was made one day after the new board of the state-owned company suspended its chief executive officer, Kiran Shah, and the chief operating officer, Sharma Maharaj, over claims of impropriety. Informed sources told The Guardian that a member of the board found a secret room on the first floor of the Maraval building, which is opposite the country club and also houses the main branch for First Caribbean International Bank. EFCL occupies the second floor of the building, and unknown to staff, another room was rented on the first floor, unknown to staff. Sources said a new board member was stunned after finding 3 people busy at work in the secret room and called in security after realizing they were working on EFCL business. The 3 people in the room and another who was subsequently found to be part of the same operation were sent home, and the access to information technology at the company was suspended. Accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers has been called in to conduct a forensic audit of the company and has already taken a snapshot of the systems used in the mill house. Sources said they have already discovered that the 4 select employees were hired to create contracts and tender documents for several existing projects which were already paid for in full. Already paid for in full. But they now generated new contracts, knowing that they're out of office, to give to these people to now come to present to the current administration. They say, well, look, we built this school and all they're owing us. We didn't get paid for it yet, but here it says they were already paid in full. This was being done, according to company insiders, to validate the tendering processes to make them appear transparent and legal. Let me repeat that. This was being done, according to company insiders, to validate the tendering processes to make them appear transparent and legal. So you see, just now when I asked you all what was the tendering process they used to build this 106 schools? Because to give out contracts to build all of these things takes time. 106 schools, so what they say. So just, hey, here now, again, your contract to build that school, but you know, yeah, go ahead now, we'll sort out the thing after. You just submit whatever you have to submit, and we will fix up the contract and thing and make it look legit. So if you send in an invoice and you say it cost you 30 million to build a school, we will organize the contract to suit your invoice. But you guys go ahead and build. Go ahead. Not thinking they would have lost the election, and this administration have to come in and be saddled with that. But put them back. But it's the fully done supporters want to come and tell you PNM people is only vote based on race and not issues. So we don't vote on issues like this. When it is that we go to the poll and cast our ballot and stain our fingers red for the PNM, because we don't want things like this to be repeated. No such allegations have ever been made against the PNM. But they want to come and tell you all you vote on race is race because it's African and all you voting for African. It has nothing to do with things like this. Right? Yeah. I continue. A preliminary report has revealed that contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars were given out to select contractors in the run-up to the September 7 general election, and they were paid in full without any work being done. Let me repeat that. A preliminary report has revealed that contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars were given out to select contractors in the run-up to the September 7 general election, and they were paid in full without any work being done. 2 contractors who are financiers of the UNC have been identified as major beneficiaries of the scheme, sources said. Sources said the forensic audit and a criminal investigation by the Anti-Corruption Investigations Bureau, which began in April, triggered this week's suspension of the 2 executive officers. A whistleblower initially went to the police with a 108-page dossier detailing several instances of fraud and mismanagement. This sparked a police investigation centering around the award of several contracts over the last 5 years. So it wasn't something happened in 2015 alone. It was an ongoing cook-up scheme, to use Kamala Prasad's sister's words. For 5 years, this is what they were doing, right? So when this government said, we don't have the money to finish the schools that they started, hey, I'm giving you, how much schools you want? Well, I'm giving you 4. You can handle that? Yeah, don't worry, man. Even if I finish it in this term, we're winning for sure. So come the next term from 2015 to 2020, we're going to finish it. So start here, start there, and this government came in and find a whole set of schools, different states of completion. Why? Because you're giving one the same contractor several to do, and he doesn't have the resources to do it. But you just bill, man, and send your bill and send your invoice. We go eat our food and drink our juice together. Or put them back. Sources said efforts have been made to ask the whistleblower, but she stood up against the employers. You ever hear them patting this whistleblower on the back? No, but they will applaud Jayanti Ramdas. Yes, the Auditor General, she stood up. I wonder if it is this Auditor General, Jayanti Ramdas, had anything to say about this. Because the Auditor General's department would have had to, had at some point in time, information with respect to this, because this is the expenditure of public monies. You're applauding her? Yes. Okay. What about this whistleblower? So you understand now why it is they didn't support the whistleblower legislation in the parliament? I continue. TNT Guardian has also learned that the executive suspensions come mere months after the dismissal of a female civil engineer who clashed with senior engineers over the contract with a preferred EFCL contractor. Contacted yesterday, recently installed EFCL chairman Arnold Pigott confirmed the suspensions and the audit. The forensic audit has commenced immediately, and the 2 were suspended with full pay pending the outcome of the investigation. Let me see here. There's a lot to read. I don't really have all the time. An internal memo penned by EFCL Corporate Secretary Verity Bino and dated November 13 informed the staff about the suspensions. The memo also informed the staff that international accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers had been retained to conduct the forensic investigations and urged compliance by all staff. In other words, don't try to cover up nothing. Pigott noted that EFCL's line minister, Education Minister Anthony Garcia, in his budget presentation, had called for a forensic audit into the spending and award of construction contracts by the former board. Just now, let me go. Let's see. More info. This is not the first time EFCL has faced public scrutiny. Contacted yesterday, former line minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh would only detail the line of approvals and payment structure between EFCL and the ministry, saying that everything went through the ministry's permanent secretary and that it was all done above board. Really, Tim? So PricewaterhouseCoopers line? Okay. Yeah, PricewaterhouseCoopers is PNM. Back in 2012, then opposition member, now Finance Minister Colman Burt, described the operations at EFCL as enabling a feeding frenzy. Gopi Singh had said then that an audit into EFCL was already in progress and a team from the Finance Ministry was examining operations at EFCL. Imbert had raised suspicions of irregularities in the award of contracts by EFCL and had called for forensic audit into several scopes of works, including electrical upgrades at Tranquility Government School and Lakshmi Girls Hindu College. Imbert also claimed that the former minister in the Ministry of Education, Clifton Dekoto, used his position to help a friend benefit from EFCL contracts. Put them back. Yeah, everything was above board. Pricewaterhouse's lie. Yeah, the PNM buy them off to say that. So the documentary evidence, when they found these three persons in this room creating new contracts, backdating contracts, to make it look as if the people didn't get paid. So they get paid, they would have been paid twice with your taxpayers' money. But all of a sudden, the Polydons, they're so concerned about taxpayers' money and proper procurement. And this government watered down the procurement legislation, so now it's ineffective. I have a clip to play for you all from Gary Aboud, that next clown. But not today. We don't have time for he today. We'll deal with him on another day. Right? But the procurement legislation, and they got in the procurement legislation 2013. They brought the procurement bill to the parliament. Yeah? That convoluted procurement bill to say, look, we bring something. 2013, 2014, 2015, no efforts were made to pass it. No efforts were made to proclaim it. They just bring it as window dressing to fool people to say, we brought it. They pressure this government, go ahead and right? This government pass it. Last it. Right? But before I move on, let me have one more thing to read. So they want to kill Minister Dolly. How long nothing and how much money all they spend and only no school was opening in September, and all it takes so long, and why it is they couldn't give the people a status update. So in the comments under one of the posts, the first comment, there was a lady who clearly knows what she's about, and she was telling, in the comments, she's saying, you know, people don't know and don't understand the challenges that are faced with respect to school repairs. That when you have public servants who are required to submit certain documents and information, and they stick, and then when the repairs are not effected in time, the minister and the ministry get in blame. Well, boy, they take a turn in she tail. Everybody who comment after her is licks in and she tail. Well, let me read this for you. Let me read this. Sunday Express. Is it? Yes. Dated September the 4th, 2013. Almost 11 years ago to the day. Minister, repairing schools is a hard task. It was an impossible task to repair all schools before the new academic year began on Monday, but more than 98% were opened in time. So they opened, many of them still needing repairs. This is 2013 under Tim Gopi Singh. This is according to Education Minister Tim Gopi Singh, who defended his ministry's. Now we're doing that. And the rains are down. Morning to Carol Myers. Anytime that rain falling, Carol will come to mind. This is according to Education Minister Tim Gopi Singh, who defended his ministry and the Education Facilities Company, the body responsible for the construction and repairs of schools. Speaking with reporters at the official opening of Monkeytown Government Primary School on Wednesday, Gopi Singh said the principals of the nominational schools were told to inform school boards of repairs needed. However, it was only the week before the reopening of school that the boards informed the ministry of the work that needed to be done. So you have 8 weeks of vacation. You were told to inform the school boards. They were told to inform the school boards of the repairs needed. 1 week before school was supposed to open, the ministry is saying we now get the information from the school board. But blame Minister Dolly. All right. Those from government schools were supposed to go to the school repairs supervisors and to EFCL, the Ministry of Education, and the Chief Education Officer. So you see the line, you see the bureaucracy there. It has to go through the school supervisors, EFCL, the Ministry of Education, and the Chief Education Officer. These have not been complied with to a major extent, hence the reason for a number of them being delayed, Gopi Singh said. This is 2013. This is not Mian Gatsby Dolly, and this is not Keith Rowley. But when you listen to the fully duns, you get the impression under them, everything was perfect. Trinidad and Tobago was a veritable utopia. We had no issues in government. We had no problems in the health sector, no problems with crime, no problems with the issue of schools. Everything was perfect. All right, we continue. In addition, because of the massive construction we have had to relocate some of the students from the schools we have demolished to other facilities. And these are some of the areas where we are trying to complete the centers for students to move into. He said many schools are more than 100 years old and repairing buildings was a mammoth task. And he said every day at least 5 schools needed fixing. Every day, 5 schools need fixing. On Monday, pupils of Monkeytown Primary had classes in their new building for the first time. So I mentioned to you all just now, Minister Gatsby Dolly would have mentioned on Friday that the 2 new primary schools cost $31 million to build, combined, right? 2 for 31. Here it is. Monkeytown Primary, this is 2013. The school cost $25 million and took a year to build. The pupils have been housed at Debe Presbyterian School for the past 8 years. The school has a pupil population of 210 and 13 staff members led by Principal Julianne Burrows. So the fully dons want to tell you, no way 2 primary schools could cost 31 million combined. But Gopi Singh telling you in 2013, he built 1 and it cost 25 million. You get 1 for 25 under he, but under Gatsby Dolly, you get 2 for 31. 2 for 31, they can't process that. That is thievery, robbery, corruption. But 1 for 25, yeah, that's okay. Normal thing, man. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I could see how a private school could cost $25 million today. But put them back. Them bright. PNM supporters drinking Balize juice. If Rowley tell us the sky is purple and it's blue, we will see it's purple. Right? But them don't do that. They're smart. They have all the degrees and we dotish. They forget these things. So when you see they're talking about 2 schools can cost 31 million. So it means that they cost 15.5 million a piece. About 10 million less than Monkeytown cost under Tim. Right? 10 million less than Monkeytown cost under Tim. There are no problem with that. Everything good. Everything good. But I just read for you all EFCL and the bubble that was taking place not just in 2015, over a 5-year period. So as soon as they came in, they didn't wait. You know, we always say with them, as soon as the treasury door opens, every thief for himself and the population take behind most. Everybody line up with their wheelbarrow to see how much they could take. Well, now they're moving in with armored trucks because the wheelbarrow can't hold enough. They even say, well, we'll get them a 1-year honeymoon, you know. 5 years as soon as they reach in. Them done planning already. When we get in there, well, right. How we could thief, but we could build school. And my partner Dane does always say, if you want to thief, build. But we could build real school. You tell them we build 106 schools. See what's happening? Man get paid for building school and they even turn son. Not even a hammer or a nail, but he don't get paid full. So if the school costs 25 million, he collect a check for 25 million. Where is school? Where is school? It's a bill yet, but contractor don't get paid. And now, coming to submit a contract after the loss for payment, to say, well, right, I get a contract for the school. So I get double pay. You understand why it is? The audit that was conducted by, oh gosh, was this Panelco Foster? I think it was. Whoever is the name of the audit, I can't remember. I think. What is the name of it? The Ministry of Housing told us last year, almost a year ago, October last year, during her contribution to the budget debate, where the Minister of Housing informed us that the audit showed $800 million in housing cannot be found. $800 million in housing cannot be found. How you can't find $800 million in houses? This is not paperwork that probably in a box somewhere in a basement. This is houses that you're supposed to be able to drive up to and knock on the door, touch the walls, see it. 800 million in houses can't be found. Up to now, Munilal has said nothing about that. 1 year later, Kamla has said nothing about that. Jolene John has said nothing about that. No comment. They even come out to deny it and say, well, it's a lie. And this is the explanation. Because the population at least deserves to know. Nothing. But the fully duns, 800 million. Well, we went back 300 million AV drilling thief, AV drilling fake oil. We went back 100 million. But 800 in houses can't be found. No talk about that. The one by the 26,000 US that the Ministry of Trade and Industry spent, that they give it to some fake company. They spend 26,000 US and to buy some 4 scanners, something like that, and they ain't get nothing. 26,000 US, but when you go in the bank, you can't get 200 US, you go back the money. But you know about the 800 million in houses that can't be found, almost $1 billion in housing can't be found. Yeah, but 3 billion missing under him, but and when it is that you point these things out to them, now they want to come and shift the goalposts and talk about all other kind of thing, or Rowley teeth, and Rowley's a pedophile, and Rowley's a rapist, and him with this and who not. And the crime in the country, and we're focusing on money missing. But all they keep talking about $3 billion missing, which is not missing. But because they scroll too hard, they can't understand. But every time you point out the corruption that took place under that party that they support, then we talk about crime. Then we talk about the health system in the country. Let's talk about the health sector. Kamala built one hospital and converted an office complex into a teaching hospital. Keith Rowley built 3 hospitals. Point Fortin, Arima, Sangre Grande, Trinidad, Roxborough in Tobago, and Central Block in Port of Spain is also under construction and almost complete. In addition to that, $34 million has been set aside to improve conditions at the San Fernando Hospital, Mount Hope, and the other parts of the Port of Spain Hospital. If we have an issue in this country with respect to shortage of beds, it speaks to a bigger issue of an unhealthy population. Why so many people need to go and lie down on a hospital bed? And when it is that you look at what are the ailments, diabetes, hypertension, chronic diseases, lifestyle diseases, mostly, right? Because we're not advocating that people try to live healthier lifestyles. But build more hospital and put more beds to accommodate more sick people. They're paying $430-something a year in health surcharge, but they want to go to when they call the ambulance must come and pick them up. They ain't pay nothing. Take them to the hospital. As soon as they get to the hospital, a doctor must be waiting there to see them because there's nobody else to see. Sending the call before they reach, hey, we en route, we bringing in a patient. Right. All right, make sure you have a doctor waiting in the accident and emergency to see them and diagnose one time. We have a whole medical team. Diagnose, okay, this is the problem here. This is how we're treating it. Call up the ward. We need a bed. We have a patient who just came in here 5 minutes ago. We already did the diagnosis. Right, this is what, so we warding them. Send them up. While they're there, 3 square meals. The nurse taking care of them because the family don't care to come and see them maybe once, twice for the week. Some of them, if they're so lucky, right? But they wouldn't even walk with a water or a bottle of water for them to drink. Because as far as they're concerned, the government's supposed to provide everything, right? Provide the nurses to make sure and clean them, change the pamper, whatever it is that they need to do, whatever, right? The nurses are supposed to do that. We're just supposed to come and for 1 hour visitation and we sit down and we laugh, how you going? And fill up the hand and whatnot and thing, and we say a prayer and then you bust out until the next visit. But everything else that they need while they're there, government's supposed to pay for that because it's taxpayers' money. Half all they're paying, 1 cent in income tax thanks to Keith Rowley and the P&M administration. You're all ungrateful bastards. Some of you all, right? When they get discharged from the hospital call and say, okay, well, your relative has been discharged, so you can come and pick them up. You have time for that now? I go and pick them up weekend. You get the call Tuesday, weekend. You ain't going to pick them up yet. Right? What the hospital is supposed to do? Put them in a wheelchair and wheel them out in the corridor to sit down there until the family members come? No. Until such time as the family members come to take you, the hospital is obligated to keep you there. So you lie down on a bed. You get discharged since Tuesday. Saturday morning, your family members now come in. You have other people downstairs who need to be warded. But because you occupy in a bed and you got to go home and your family members don't care to come for you, people waiting downstairs sit down in a wheelchair and lie down on a stretcher, waiting to be warded because your family couldn't care to come and pick you up because to pick you up today is an inconvenience. Right? It's an inconvenience. You probably suffer a stroke and they ain't ready to deal with you yet. They need to sort out so because they know when you come home it's headache and stress and all of that. So you could stay there for a few more days. And people who need the bed downstairs, they waiting. I blame the minister for that and blame the government for that. And then when you're leaving, they give you a prescription, right? Tell your family members to come to the dispensary. You come tomorrow. Everything that you need, you could get it. And if the dispensary don't have it, look the CDAP form. Fill it out, get some, and you go to the pharmacy and you get it. The government will pay for that too. So between you getting sick to the time that you were discharged and you reach back home in your house, you won't pay 1 cent. But that bill is for the government has to go and find that money that wasn't budgeted for. Right? Because the government tell you to get sick. The government tell you to smoke and mash up your lungs. The government tell you to drink like it ain't have no tomorrow, and you end up with cirrhosis of the liver. Government tell you to do that. Every day you're drinking 2 and 3 Coca-Cola, and the people tell you, why are you drinking all that sort of drink? You want to get yourself diabetes? I got to go. When diabetes strike now, pressure, you collapse just so. You ain't taking care of yourself. You're not taking the medication that the government give you for free. Because I too much as you're feeling good today, so I ain't taking it. You bounce it up, gangrene setting, you have to go in the hospital. Government had to pay for the surgery for your foot. You end up in the hospital another month or 2. Who paying for that? The government had to pay for meals. They didn't budget for that, but we had to find the money. You have to build more hospital and buy more bed, and that's the solution. Blame the government. Yeah, the healthcare system in a mess. Healthcare system in a mess, right? Because you find it too difficult. You have the money, rather than to go and just go in the pharmacy and buy the medication, even if it's 2 weeks supply. Where you find that's too hard. The government's supposed to take that care of that because I pay as a taxpayer, and I pay in taxes, and I'm entitled to that. Really, I'm a taxpayer too, but I'm not dependent on the state for anything. If I get sick, that's why I have a health plan to take care of those things. You build up your savings to pay the difference. So if it is that the dispensary doesn't have the medication, go in the pharmacy, use my card, my health card, the health plan paying for that because I pay in every month, but I budget for that to pay for these things. So if the treatment is not available in Trinidad, I could hop on a plane and go abroad and get the treatment outside. And the health plan paying for that. And what they will pay out, what I pay for the month is a fraction of what they would have to pay out. But these are the nah, you don't want to pay that. That's too much to do. Government responsible. So just to wrap up this issue with the schools, just to give an example, right? Right now, St. Mary's College is being painted, my alma mater. We painted the whole school. It's costing a lot of money to paint the whole school. Plenty money. It's been many years since the school was painted. And it needed a facelift, right? So the school is being painted, the chapel is being painted. Last year, work was done on the inside of the chapel where the pews were redone, the floor was redone, and another work on the altar and all of these different things, right? Classrooms, air condition, all of these things have been paid for. So the amount of money that is being spent to paint the school, not one dime came from the government. Not one dime came from the government. It is because of the fundraising efforts of the 2 alumni associations that the school has, the Past Students Union and the Alumni Foundation. As you know, St. Mary's College has one of the most sought after all-inclusive fetes for Carnival, Fete with the Saints. So the money, the revenue that is generated from that is used to do all these things for the schools, rather than you having to go and beg the government and wait forever, and then what you get is insufficient. That is the benefit that you could get from having an alumni association. Most of the infrastructural work that has happened on St. Mary's College in the last few years has come from the fundraising efforts of the alumni associations. Whether it's through Fete with the Saints, Dining with the Saints, Cruising with the Saints, Parang with the Saints, Mayfair, all of these things, and leveraging on your alumni. Past students who are now captains of industry, who serve as CEOs and presidents and managing directors of some of the country's largest companies, some of them who own their own businesses and they have money. And you appeal to them to give back to their alma mater, which contributed to them being where they are today. Leverage on that. The inside of the chapel, that work was done because you had a group from the 60s and 70s came together and they said, fellas, here, let's come together, let's form a group and let's see what we could do, what we could contribute from our own pockets, and if we can, let's see what fundraising efforts we could do to get the money to fix this. And they did that. Then you have the situation where the school has, for instance, there might be a shortage of teachers in a particular department. And when you reach out to the ministry says, oh, we don't have any teachers available for this particular subject right now. Rather than the school be handicapped, they will hire teachers privately, and then they send the bill to the Past Students Union. And the Past Students Union will pay the salaries until such time as the ministry finds somebody, without having to go and beg the government. Right? So the next time you pass on Frederick Street, take a peek, or you pass to the back on Pembroke Street, look at it and see the work that is being done. And that is because of the efforts of past students who want to give back to the school. And maybe that same model, right, could be introduced to some of the government secondary schools. I know some of them have these associations, but, try and do something now. So that way, it always had to be the government. As the Prime Minister said some years ago, we know of the government. Every school that has to be built, every hospital that has to be built, every road that has to be paved, is government and the government and the government. As if the treasury is a bottomless pit of money. When the citizens could come together and do something. I know it have people who listen and will be vexed. That's what the government there for, and that's what they're supposed to spend the money on, and all of that. Yeah, but if it is, you have persons who could give back to the schools and help out the situation, do it. Right? Do it. Because the subvention that the government sends to the school is not enough to do all the things that needs to be done. And we, the past students, we have no problem in participating and doing things to generate the income so we could do it better. And we have say over what could be done. So the next major project is the library, complete renovation and refurbishment of the library, bring it into the 21st century and not the 20th century that it was trapped in, complete with computers and everything that is needed for the students to do research. There's also major electrical work that has to be done on the northern wing. All of these things will be paid for by the alumni associations. And go in and beg cap in hand to the government like Oliver Twist. Please, Madam Dolly, can we have some more? No. If we get, great, it would help. But we're not going to wait until. Leverage on your alumni, past students who can help and who are willing to help, but they just need somebody to reach out to them. So I'm just saying that. Let me see here. So true, bam, gimme. That's all it is. It's what is in it for me. And the populist policies of the UNC. That's why Monday night, every time Kamala mentioned the word free, yes, free. They love to hear that word free. They love to hear the word free. Spend the money on what they want. Nobody is saying no. Anyway, congratulations to Minister of Energy, Stuart Young, on his second acting appointment as Prime Minister in the absence of Dr. Rowley, who has left the country to have some medical checkups done. As you know, the Prime Minister has his doctors outside, and he would have been dealing with doctors here as well. But again, it's an opportunity for the fully done to talk about how Rowley going abroad to get medical treatment, and why you don't come in the hospitals in Trinidad and whatnot, and all of these different things. We know they're going to talk about that, right? But these people need to be reminded that Dr. Rowley does work for a salary. Okay? He does work for a salary. I'm pretty sure that he probably has a private medical plan of his own that he would have had before. His wife, his family members. And when I hear them talk, you would swear, when you listen to the fully done, you would swear that all the friends and family members of the government ministers, that all of them rich. So that when the price of gas goes up, it doesn't have, apparently, the Prime Minister's relatives who aren't wealthy, who are average everyday citizens who working for normal salaries, that they are not impacted by it. That because when they say Rowley don't care about nobody and he heartless. Because when it is Dr. Rowley's family, his sister, his brother, or whoever it is, nieces, nephews, I know a couple months ago he said that one of his brothers had died when he had the last conversations with the Prime Minister in Tobago. His brother had died that same day, right? But apparently you would get the impression from the fully dones that when Dr. Rowley's family goes to the grocery, all they have to say, well, the Prime Minister is my uncle, Yeah, okay, well, you get a 50% discount. The Prime Minister is my good friend. Really? All right, well, okay, a 50% discount for you. You don't have to pay the normal price. Apparently that happens. When you go to the gas station, tell the pump attendant, well, I'm related to the Minister of Finance. For true? All right. Well, you will pay half price for the gas. Apparently that is what happens. So they don't have family members who feel in the pinch too. Right? Because this government is so heartless and wicked. And the cost of living going up and the price of food, because apparently the government imports food. He probably have a grocery. Or he has a wholesale business. He imports stuff, food stuff, right? I saw the Express, another deal with the Express, but not today, put out an article, editorial a couple days ago, supporting Kamala Prasad and her foolishness about removing VAT on 7,000 food items. And I keep asking every time they bring up that. Anybody could tell me what 7,000 food items they're talking about? Anybody goes to the grocery on a monthly basis or weekly or whatever it is, fortnightly, and purchases 7,000 food items? How is that benefiting the wider population? How is it benefiting them? 7,000 food items? If the average citizen goes to the grocery for the month in terms of food, we're not talking groceries, we're talking food items here. If they pick up 15 or 20 different food items, they pick up plenty. So removing VAT on 7,000 food items doesn't help. And you know what I love to do sometimes when I go to the grocery or Price Mart or whatnot, and I see people with trolleys full with food stuff. I like to go in those lines, right? To see what the total bill comes up to and what the amount that they paid in VAT. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to Massey Stores in Mandalay, right? And there was this mother and son who in front of me. They had 3 trolleys with their groceries. 3. I said, right. I'm going today. Stand up behind them. Fortunately, when I joined the line, they were already on the 3rd trolley. And the other 2, the attendant had already packed the bags and put it in, right? So the bill came up to $3,574. Yeah, $3,574. And the total they paid in VAT was $172 and some cents. On a bill of over $3,500, they paid $172 in VAT. I tell you that the majority of items they purchased was VAT-free. VAT-free. That is why they paid so little. So when I listen to the leader of the opposition talking nonsense about put her back and she will remove VAT on 7,000 food items and that will cause the cost of living to go down and the cost of food stuff to go down. Rubbish. You tried that the first time when you were in office, 2010 to 2015, and it flopped. There's a Guardian news article that says that, and the title is VAT or food flops. And when you read the article, the contents of the article, it is telling you that citizens were actually left worse off. Because even though VAT was removed on certain things, you had some of these grocery owners who increased the price of their goods. And when this was brought to the attention of the then Minister of Agriculture, Vasant Bharat, he said it would be most unfortunate if that is really so. And that there's nothing else the government could do. We can't tell the business owners how to the grocery owners how to price their goods. We can't tell them how much profit to make. So we could do what we could do on our side. But removing VAT didn't help. Maybe we read that on another day. So when they come with that, and I see the Express newspaper supporting that folly and talking about Kamala Prasad, says I was on the right track. The majority of basic food items that she removed VAT off of when this administration came in 2015, 2016, these items remained VAT-free. You need only to go on Google and type in zero-rated items Trinidad, VAT-free items Trinidad, and you will see the whole list come up since 2016, February 2016, it was published, showing the basic food items were VAT-free and have remained VAT-free for the last 8 years. But when they come to tell you, Rowley, Kamala take VAT off 7,000 food items and Rowley put back the VAT on it. Rubbish. Rubbish and lies. But that's what they like, propaganda and lies. I'm going to deal with this thing here. Right. So I mentioned Minister Stuart Young is now acting as Prime Minister in the absence of Dr. Rowley from the country. And why did I make mention of that? Minister Young did an interview. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I don't have the time for it today. So I'll probably be part today and another day. Play the rest. Right? I'll play you on another day too. Let me get this here. It was an interview that he did on 995 with Darian Marcel. It was a most instructive interview, and I think some people may have missed it. But it's important to discuss it with respect to the future of our country's energy sector. And again, what is at stake if we play fast and loose with our vote come 2025? Because if we didn't have the type of oil and the type of gas that is poised to come on stream in the next 3 years, between 2010 to 2015, and I just read for you just a snippet of some of the bubble that took place between 2010 and 2015, just in the construction of schools. When it is that this gas money starts flowing from 2027, you can imagine what they're going to do. All of them who licking the chops and then strategizing how they're going to thief already. They have the plans in place already, how they're going to thief. So they're just waiting. This time around, yeah, they're making jokes. So just in case they don't get a second term, make sure all of them, their pockets nice. Let me play this. Where is it? So, it's not it. Just 15. So I'll play this one and then other day we'll touch on that. Give me 1 second. So many things.
We dawned on me within recent times that we, as normal people, don't really understand what energy means to each and every one of us in our daily lives. So I think that's an important conversation. Trinidad and Tobago's economy, our livelihood, our lifeblood is based on oil and gas. It's the money that we have earned from oil and gas that has paid for our education. It's paid for this building. It's paid for hospitals. It's paid for health care. The largest employer in Trinidad and Tobago is the state. Salaries are paid from the earnings of oil and gas. It's paid for the street lights. People don't understand the amount of electricity we consume in Trinidad and Tobago. Not only is that heavily subsidized, meaning we're not paying the market value for it, it's based on natural gas in Trinidad and Tobago, which is a good thing when it comes to pollution, but it means even that is subsidized, because whereas we could take that gas, sell it to LNG, sell it to ammonia and methanol producers, we have chosen way in the past to use that gas to create electricity. So people don't understand those things. Water is subsidized. The fuel at the pumps are subsidized. That's an important conversation to understand for citizens, to really understand the importance of oil and gas for us.
Right. There's another one of those clips which I will play in another day. That's really what I wanted. But I want you all to listen carefully to what the minister had to say. If it is you would have missed that interview. Shed some light on the misinformation that we keep getting from that other place.
Thank you to all the listeners and everybody tuned in this afternoon. This afternoon, Darian and Gary, I want to thank you all for the opportunity, because you see a lot has been going on in the energy space globally, and Trinidad and Tobago is out there at the forefront despite what people may be hearing. So today, people, I have come here to give you all as much information as I could fit in as easy a way for us to understand as possible, as Darian and Gary will give me time. So I'm starting off with this.
But I want to start in a particular place. I want to start in a particular place. And I think it's important to address it from here because of the misinformation and the distress that some commentators want to give the country, in spite of all the work that has been transparent and shared, because you have come here for 3-4 times. Every time you fly out and touch down with a press conference,
correct,
there's a news article and so on. But there are those who are sharing the narrative, unfortunately so, that because of the issues of Venezuela and the elections and the concerns there by the citizens of Venezuela, that Trinidad and Tobago and this Dragon deal and Manhattan and all them things are now under threat. And of course, they are giving people the impression that all this talk that between you and your Prime Minister has been given us, nothing has materialized. Now, I already telling you, I don't even know if you drink a well for water and get it overnight. But I wanted to first treat those concerns.
No problem. I had that on the list. So let me start. With Venezuela, we know there's always a level of uncertainty. The first thing we have to understand in Trinidad and Tobago is that you control what you could control. And listen, what has happened in Venezuela has not changed things for Trinidad and Tobago on the three matters. So the first deal we need to understand, and I want to discuss here this afternoon, is Loran Manatee. Because I see a whole set of misinformation. I've seen people who are former ministers, people who are supposed to be experts in the area, trying to confuse the population. Trinidad and Tobago, Loran Manatee is a field of gas that goes part in Venezuela, part in Trinidad. 27% in Trinidad, and that field is called Manatee. And the rest, 73%, in Venezuela. The first thing this government did with respect to these things, when the sanctions came heavy and hard against Venezuela in 2018, 2019, the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, in his normal foresight, his strategic thinking, spoke to the government of Venezuela and said, listen, Trinidad and Tobago would like you all to delink. You don't delink those fields because it's shared by both countries. We want you all to consider that you allow Trinidad and Tobago to develop the Manatee field without Loran. And he sowed that seed. He then asked me to go and see if we could make it happen. And people, we made it happen. In 2019, I was making trips to Venezuela and we secured an agreement. It was not easy because this thing has not happened in the energy landscape in the world before, where they allow you develop your side, and you don't have to come with a plan for my side as yet. We secured that, Darian, in 2019. So that is why you hear about Manatee, and we talk about Manatee. I hear all the people, former minister, this, that, always trying to talk about Loran Manatee. We secured in 2019 from the Venezuelan government an agreement, go ahead and develop Manatee. And I walk with it here today. We have been progressing it. That is being developed by Shell. Every second you're hearing them trying to tell Trinidad and Tobago it's not going to happen. We kept the country abreast. One of the things that came here to
link.
So it's the link. So Venezuela in 2019, I got it signed in Caracas. We have an agreement that is a binding agreement with the government of Venezuela.
Whoever in office,
Trinidad and Tobago, go ahead, you can develop Manatee. We worked with the Shell hierarchy. We work with the top people. Trinidad and Tobago, one of the things I want to tell you all today, we are always competing. Trinidad and Tobago is not the only place in the world with oil and gas. We are competing with many other countries, with these companies who have investments in other countries to persuade them, spend a little time in Trinidad, spend your money in Trinidad, continue to develop Trinidad. And that needs to be understood. So we develop the relationships. And look, it here today in the Guardian newspaper, page 15, a big article, Shell's Manatee Field Advances. This is not new. A few weeks ago in July, at the start of July, I announced shortly after Shell made the announcement globally that Shell took FID, final investment decision, with Manatee, which means they're going to throw the billions of dollars into it and run, and they're going to develop Manatee, which we have been negotiating. When the Venezuelan government gave us the go-ahead in 2019, we then sat down. I drove the discussions. In 2021, we signed a new PSC with Shell, which meant we signed the new commercial terms to go ahead. We announced that to the country. At the time, the Prime Minister joined in the announcement. Shell has done a PSC with Trinidad and Tobago for Manatee. And people, what you're seeing here today is another advancement. So at the start of July, Shell globally announced they took FID, final investment decision on Manatee. Today, what you're seeing in the newspaper report is a company that they've hired globally, McDermott, have gotten their final contract and it is proceeding. I can tell you all in Trinidad and Tobago, because I continue to remain engaged with Shell, continue to be in discussions with them at every step of the way. The work is proceeding and Manatee is coming to be.
Let me answer this question.
Regardless of what happens in Venezuela, that's the first thing to understand.
I want to make clarity. Two questions in one.
Mm-hmm.
Did the government of the President of the United States have to give some clearance?
Nothing for this. So regardless of what happens in Venezuela, in the United States, Manatee can proceed because of that work, Darian, that we did, the foresight that the Prime Minister had, and he said, sure, go and get this thing delinked, let us get it done. That is secure.
So just to reinforce there, it don't matter who sitting in Miraflores in Venezuela, who answering the phone, it doesn't matter who sitting in the Oval Office in the White House after November 5th, Manatee goes on, right? So elections in Venezuela and elections in the United States has no consequence on Manatee because that is our gas on our side of the border, right? Just thought I would stress on that. We continue.
Shell has gone ahead, Shell have hired the contractor, and the work will proceed.
Great news.
So regardless of the United States, regardless of Venezuela, that's the first thing. This is the largest development in oil and gas in Trinidad and Tobago in decades. So Trinidad and Tobago, don't let anybody take that away from us. That's the first thing, Manatee. Now let's jump to drop.
Before you go to Jagat, that arrangement, right? So we see the people who are the
Correct.
platform and
Correct.
the line,
Platform, the pipelines.
but we're going to get that next year. We're going to get all next week,
Well,
next month, next year.
So with these contracts, look how long I told you all. We got this thing delinked in 2019. We then sat, we had to fight, we had to negotiate. Respectful negotiations, but hard negotiations to find the commercial terms. That was concluded in 2021. And look, we now in 2024, and that's when Shell says, right, full speed ahead, and they commit, correct. Well, and they commit, but they only commit because of the work we did with Atlantic LNG and the restructuring. And nobody noticed that, and I've been here how many times, the Prime Minister said it, we say this has never been done in the world. You see anybody come and say, that's not true, and produce it, and it is because they can't, because this has never been done in the world. So now, in December 2023, when we restructured Atlantic LNG with Shell and BP, Shell says, by July, boom, done. August, they award the contract. They proceed with Manatee. And Manatee, Trinidad and Tobago is not going anywhere, regardless of what may happen in the world of geopolitics.
So Venezuela gave us these licenses.
No, this is not a license. So this was, they agreed we could proceed with Manatee.
Did they give a timeline?
They not know. I secured the agreement. I tell you, one day I'll write a book and tell you all the difficulties of getting the signatures on those things, etc., and how we had to negotiate. But it's for Trinidad and Tobago. And Darian, you asked an important question. Is it coming in next week? Is it coming? 2027 is when we push in to get this first gas. And this is going to provide the largest supply of gas to Trinidad and Tobago in all projects.
I want to tell you. And I was not going to tell you why now. I want to tell you that before we end the program. I have a real concern.
Me too. As a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, we have decisions to make as to who going to continue managing this thing to make sure these things are. Because it's the reality, Darian. People had to remember the 2010 to 2015 period and how they decimated and destroyed it, no matter how they turn. And I want to tell the population today, the former minister energy, Kevin Ramnarai, he writing freedom of information request to NGC himself, asking to go behind the same contract that is the only contract the UNC negotiated that has cost Trinidad and Tobago billions. That is how these people are. So Trinidad and Tobago, remember that. And this is just one example of what a PNM government, a Dr. Keith Rowley Prime Minister, and sending Stuart Young and others to make it happen. So Manatee secure.
Manatee secure. Where's the next
Dragon, because everybody in Trinidad want to talk about Dragon.
Where is Dragon?
So Dragon, as you all know, we had secured a commercial term sheet by 2017, 2016. Sanctions came in, it put a stop on the project, 2018, 2019. You all know the story by now. The Prime Minister, again, with the vision, and myself working, we made all those trips to Washington, D.C. I made numerous trips to Caracas. And let me put the population on notice here again as I say that. The UNC have asked a question in Parliament of me, how many trips I've made to Caracas, who I went to Caracas with, how much it cost. So population, stand by for that answer. But before I give that answer, I'm going to explain to you all the benefits of these trips and the risks. Because I went there in the middle of the sanctions when protests was taking place in the street and nobody else was going there. And we did that for Trinidad and Tobago. Again, as a PNM government did that. So Darian Dragon, we went to Washington, D.C., as you've heard the Prime Minister say, and I was fortunate enough to have the experience and to see in action 5 to 6 speeches a day. We speak into the Republicans. We leave there. He says Stuart Wennex. We then speak into Democrats. We leave there. We go and we speak into representatives who have the agriculture belt. They're representing the agriculture belt because we're producing ammonia. So we tell them of the benefits. This could be all over. Prime Minister met with President Biden. We met with Vice President. We selling Trinidad and Tobago.
Before
Correct, because we had the vision and we told them, listen, the Russia-Ukraine war took place. Trinidad and Tobago could be part of the solution. We have all of the capacity in these plants because we have a shortage of gas. So we could immediately produce LNG. We could immediately produce ammonia, which is used for fertilizer for the world's food, agriculture. And we could produce methanol, which is used for manufacturing. We have that ability right next to proven fields. We don't need to go and explore. All we need to do is drill wells, 17 kilometers of pipeline, 18 kilometers of pipeline into infrastructure again, LNG, ammonia, methanol, and that is Dragon. They listened. I remember going with Prime Minister. We met with Vice President Kamala Harris and other CARICOM leaders, Prime Minister Motley, President Irfan Ali from Guyana, the President of Suriname, President Santoki, and we sat there with the Vice President, who is now, of course, the presidential candidate, will soon be confirmed for the Democrats. And they listened and we persuaded them. So we got the OFAC license.
That's what I'm curious about.
Correct. So we got a license.
What is this?
So the American, because remember, Venezuela is under sanction. To do business in the oil industry and the gas industry in Venezuela, there's a office, a division in the US Treasury Department called OFAC, which have to give you permission to go. They have plenty applications in there and they're just sitting on desk. Trinidad and Tobago, because of all that work of the Prime Minister and the amount of trips him and I made several without him to line up the way he will then come in, push it along, etc. We secured our OFAC license. You'll remember, Darian, and Trinidad and Tobago. Initially, the OFAC license said you can't pay in cash, you could pay with LPG, etc. Well, the first thing the naysayers in Trinidad say, it will never happen because President Maduro not going to accept that. We continued that. I continued going to Washington, to Caracas, negotiating. But what Trinidad and Tobago needs to know, the confidence and the competence again that we put into this thing very quietly, never blowing a trumpet. We then secured in October or November last year, I think it was October, an amendment to the OFAC license that allowed us for Dragon to pay in cash, US currency, EU currency, and then these types of things. Boom, we secured that. Hadn't been done before. The only people up to that time who got an OFAC license for 3 months to 6 months, we got one for 2 years, was Chevron, who have billions of dollars invested in Venezuela. So December last year, two things happened for Trinidad and Tobago. We restructured Atlantic LNG, and then a few days later, on the 21st of December, we secured a 30-year license from the government of Venezuela. So this is not today, tomorrow. It took 30 years from the government of Venezuela. A license never happened before to Trinidad and Tobago for the Dragon field. All commercial terms negotiated.
What I find interesting, and I'm curious as to why this false information. So you get the 30 years in Venezuela. But what is interesting, and for me, and I need you to break it down for people like me.
No problem.
Who is the service provider there? BP or Shell?
No, so this one, Dragon, is again, people of Trinidad and Tobago, this is what your government did. We negotiated not only for Shell, we negotiated for Trinidad and Tobago. So the first thing you got is two governments. So a government-to-government arrangement with the United States. The OFAC license is to the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow.
And we negotiated, United States government give you Trinidad and Tobago government an OFAC license that we could do it, and we will use Shell and NGC. So NGC is also a participant in this thing. So it's Shell and NGC, but the license from OFAC, because they have reporters and naysayers who keep trying to change the narrative and say it's a Shell license. It is not a Shell license. It's an OFAC license to the government of Trinidad. Darian, we need people with the money. Shell is the largest LNG trader in the world. They are one of the largest energy companies in the world. They have the money, they have the expertise, they have the experience to come drill the well, build the platforms, get everything done. So we need a partner.
Okay.
Shell has been a terrific partner for Trinidad and Tobago. Again, the Prime Minister has worked that relationship. So when they used to criticize him, well, why Rowley and Young flying here and there? You're seeing the benefits of the relationship for Trinidad and Tobago.
What I need to understand, at this juncture, you're calling Dr. Rowley name, you traveling, and so on. So why all you have to travel outside of Trinidad when they could talk to the Shell and BP people? Yeah.
The Shell and BP people here are in charge of Trinidad and Tobago. The decisions being made as to where the billions of dollars will go in the Shell empire, taking place in The Hague and in London. So what we have re-established, and I walk with it here today, is we now have direct lines of communication with the top people in BP and Shell.
You mean the international?
International, the CEOs and presidents of BP in London, the CEO and president of Shell, who's now based in London as well, and the next level. So these are the top people who Trinidad report into, because Trinidad doesn't make those level of decisions as to where will the capital go, etc. They execute it in Trinidad. And I could tell you, I brought the article here. They are now on a first name basis with us and have the respect for us. Just yesterday, I got a message from Shell that the person who Trinidad and Tobago reports to has reached out to find out if I'm going to be at this international gas conference in Houston in September, because he wants to meet with me. We have that relationship. So Cedric Kramer is sure you're going to be up here. Meg O'Neill, who's the president and CEO of Woodside, the Australian company, her office reached out in the last 24 hours saying, "Short, are you going to be here because we'd like to meet?" That is the relationship these people have. They know us.
But I would say this, if you telling me that, it suggests that there's a significant level of confidence.
Darian,
in
you
Trinidad
segue into.
No, for these people that want to talk about it.
No, correct.
And
let me tell you,
the president and the government of the United States give us license that other people line up for.
And give it to government of Trinidad. And so a park Dragon. Let me tell you all, Dragon, we have a 30-year license. Shell is going to be the operator along with NGC. But let me take up this point. It was actually reported on Sunday gone in the Newsday, page 21, Sunday, 4th of August. And this is the BP and Shell CEOs of the global operations when they're reporting globally to all of their shareholders publicly talking about Trinidad and Tobago. We are now in their conversation to the world. And that is not as a result of talking to nobody in Port of Spain or these types of things. It is the relationships we build and the credibility we have. Let me tell you. So they were announcing their results. So Shell Chief Executive Officer Wael Suon and the CFO Shinad Gorman hosting an analysis webcast from London. And look how they refer to Trinidad. Shell said it had strengthened its leadership position in LNG, with an agreement to acquire Pavilion Energy in Singapore, partner in ADNOC, Ruwais LNG project in Abu Dhabi, taking final investment decision, FID, on the Manatee backfill project in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, that is where we are. So the Shell Global CEO talking about their three biggest projects to their shareholders all over the world. And Trinidad and Tobago there, Abu Dhabi, and Singapore, and those countries.
And
Trinidad right there. And they go on further. On July 9th, Shell said Manatee will competitively grow its integrated gas business by building on development efforts in the East Coast Marine Area, ECMA, in Trinidad and Tobago, one of the country's most prolific gas producing areas. The ECMA is currently home to Shell's largest gas producing fields in the country, including Dolphin, Starfish, Bounty, Endeavour. And they go on to talk about Manatee. And then say Manatee is slated to start production in 2027. Once online, Manatee is expected to reach peak production of approximately 104,000 barrels of oil per day equivalent.
What did it just say?
Once online, right? They say they start in production in 2027. So Siotang Airline, look, this is the CEO of Shell globally saying it, and he's saying how much they're going to produce. Let me tell you what he goes on to say on July 30th. No, then I switch into BP, but they talk about, So now another person we meet with and we're on first name basis with is Zoe Yukonovich. She says this project will help meet the increasing demand for natural gas globally, whilst also addressing the energy needs of our customers domestically in Trinidad and Tobago. So people in Trinidad and Tobago, don't let nobody tie up your head. These are the global players, the top people in Shell globally speaking about Trinidad and Tobago as they reported their shareholders.
In an international
forum. Now, let us switch to BP, who did the same thing on the 30th of July. BP said, right, this is now the BP CEO. BP said, in the second quarter, we generated strong operating cash flows, reduced net debt, increased the dividend, and extended our commitment to buybacks. Murray Archenclose, who is now the BP president and CEO, chief executive officer, and Kate Thompson, chief financial officer, made the second quarter 2024 results in a video, posted a live question and answer. This is not Trinidad, This is not around the Savannah BP, This is in London, St. James Place in London. Top officer BP. And hear what he says. Archon Close, who has held the CEO post for the last 6 months, said, our business continues to operate safely and efficiently. We're driving focus across the business and reducing costs, all while building momentum in our drive to 2025. And then quotes what the CFO said. And this is what Murray said, as I know it. Archon Close. Murray, right? In his video presentation outlined BP's investments and growth in Trinidad and Tobago, Darian. This is what Murray, the CEO globally, London, talking to the world, said. He said, in Trinidad, we have a long history, and listen to this, and very strong relationships.
Yeah.
Who they talking about there?
Yeah,
so all those times when Dr. Rowley and myself went, and previously Minister Franklin Khan, and you see it and you question, that's what it is. This is now the top man. They don't have nobody higher than him in BP, saying we have very strong relationships with Trinidad and Tobago. And he goes on, and we are executing a range of actions to reshape the business for the future. So we secure a future with BP. We're accelerating. This is not me speaking, This is Murray Archiclos. We're accelerating growth enabled by the recent Atlantic LNG restructuring.
Wow.
He's saying that, not me. And then he goes on to say, we're making strong progress at SIP and Mento, major projects. So when you hear these people out there, Trinidad and Tobago, telling you nothing ain't happening, they collapse the energy, these projects, SIP and Mento, is because of the work we have done. And he is talking about that. Just now, Darian, BP expects to start up these projects in 2025 with combined net peak, and he talks about the peak production. He goes on to say, we have taken FID on coconut and doing the FID on ginger. The next investment expected to feed the domestic and LNG market. So they are progressing. These are all four projects down the road.
In terms of where this arrangement is
correct.
Where this going
for BP globally.
For BP globally, you said?
Correct. And this is, I quoted him, And these projects, I could say without fear of contradiction, all of these four that he quoted there is because of our hard work. Look what he goes on to say about Venezuela. Listen to him. And we have secured, so he talks about, he added, we have taken FID on coconut, doing the FID on ginger. Those are because, again, conversations we had. I met with him in Houston this year at CERAWeek. We had the conversations. I'm in constant contact with the top person in charge of gas in the world, having the conversations that they need to invest. Listen to what he said. The next investments expected to feed domestic LNG market, and this is what he says. And we have secured an exploration and production license for coquina, enabling a material potential development of the Mannequin coquina cross-border gas resource. Trinidad and Tobago, together, this creates a higher value Trinidad gas business with clear line of sight to material high margin growth over the next several years. That's BP, top person there, and nobody higher than Murray. That is what he says of Trinidad and Tobago. That coquina license is what I negotiated and secured a few weeks ago.
These people have other things to do.
Correct.
As we discover from what I discovered from the article, they're talking with other gas producing countries.
World area.
But what they have identified to me is these top people talking about these things on a global platform, then clearly they have taken serious investment decisions about Trinidad and Tobago, and for them to do that, guide me here, it means they must be comfortable with the stability of the Gulf country. They must be certain, they must be comfortable with the investment opportunities, and they must also, tell me if I'm wrong, right? I want to be guided by you. If they see real opportunity, because from what you were reading earlier, people, the BP CEO and president was looking down the road at the other, what you call the value chain.
Correct.
Of this year. Am I correct?
And Trinidad and Tobago, you're 100% correct. And that is what they're saying to their global shareholders and investors. Hey, and they have, let me tell you, they have investments in Egypt, they have investments in Indonesia, they have investments all over the world. Small Trinidad and Tobago is back on the global map. And people, that is because of the confidence and competence of people that you chose, you elected, you gave us the opportunity. Because I see this as a privilege to serve Trinidad and Tobago. And these are the results. This is not old talk. This is real.
I want to tell you, the more you read and the more you talk, I am
more concerned. Correct.
I am almost in fear. I mean, frank.
But Darian, I am as a citizen as well. I know how complicated these things are. I know how we've rebuilt it. And what the people of Trinidad and Tobago need to start thinking about is who has the leadership qualities and capabilities to continue taking this country in the right direction. This is not me talking. This is not Dr. Rowley talking. This is not any other minister talking. This is what the CEOs, the top people of Shell and BP are saying. They are the decision makers. The buck stops with them.
Before we go on the break, somebody just asked, well, why we know here and all of this. If you don't talk to the media, you just don't talk to the media.
I have had several press conferences. When I returned from Venezuela with the cocaine license in my hand, I came off a plane at Piajo, went straight to Whitehall, straight into cabinet. The Prime Minister left that cabinet meeting when we finished, and he went and spoke to the population live in a media conference, a live press conference by the highest executive in the land, the Prime Minister, and he announced the cocaine deal and explained how important it was. And you saw no echo chamber of it. You saw nobody talking about it. But this is the reality. So outside there on the global media, Darren, I was looking through. If you just do a search now of Trinidad and Tobago, and say, for example, Stuart Young, Minister Energy, Trinidad and Tobago, over the last few years, the amount of coverage we are getting in international media for the work that we have done in the energy sector. So, whoever asks the question, you need to ask that question. You need to ask the question, why aren't people
news.
Correct? This is excellent news. And Darian, there are plenty more, This is the top people talking, the top person at BP talking about cocaine. I remember an article had come out by the same reporter writing for Reuters saying BP pulls out a cocaine deal, but I knew what we had done. Within 2 weeks, we get OFAC. We have a second OFAC license. Government of Trinidad and Tobago have an OFAC license from the United States to pursue Venezuela, to get cocaine in Venezuela. Within a matter of weeks of getting that, went back to Venezuela and concluded the negotiations. We now have a 20-year license for cocaine. 20 years. Dragon is 30. Cocaine is 20. Wow. Right? And there are all these things. Manatee going ahead. So there are all these things happening and you're not seeing it. You're not seeing it being reported. Wow. You're not seeing. And this is good news. But before we go on the break, we in Trinidad and Tobago have to decide a couple things. One, who has the confidence and the competence? And Darren, you remember in 2018 when the Prime Minister and Minister Khan led a conference on the Hyatt, Spotlight on Energy. Yeah. You remember after that when the Prime Minister delivered one strong message. I would like to get better returns for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Right? Yeah. And everybody said you will run investments. Look today, Trinidad and Tobago. In 2024, you have these presidents and CEOs of BP and Shell talking about the investments in Trinidad and Tobago, and not only the current, but the future and how good it looks based on the hard work. So people, before we go to break, this is what we have to be concerned about. Who's going to manage this thing going forward? Who is going to be the leaders to take Trinidad and Tobago forward? And you've seen what PNM has delivered in the last 9 years in this very difficult space. And I will end on this before we go to break. Energy is a global playing field. This is not just Trinidad and Tobago. No. You're competing with the world. There's nothing else going on in Trinidad and Tobago now that competes with the world. Even our manufacturers, that's the CARICOM region, you'll try and get in some other areas. We are competing with the world, and this is the success you've seen delivered in the last 9 years because you have people who are not corrupt. You have people who are batting for Trinidad and Tobago. You have people who are now respected highly with credibility by the leaders across the globe.
Now, when we come back, we have heritage here. You have to answer some questions about heritage.
I can answer any question.
Right. We're going to talk to heritage people for about 15 minutes when we come back after the news. I hope the news is not too long.
No.
Right? And then we will come back with Minister Stuart Young.
Right. So we will give you all the other half on another day. But you heard the things that Stuart Young said there, right? You see Mr. Kevin Ramnarine publishing or posting any of those things on his Facebook page, go and take a peek. Kevin Ramnarine, take a peek and see the nonsense that he posts on his Facebook page. Anything negative? Yes. David Lee, who is the shadow minister of energy, you hear him talk about any of these things? You see him post it on his Facebook page? No. Jayanti, well, I don't know what she posted on her Facebook page because I told her she blocked me. Right? We had a little exchange, and she didn't like facts. And the next thing I know, when I try, she blocked me. So good. You feel the dog liar go talk about this? You think David Lee could come and sit down with Darian and talk what you hear Stuart Young just talk there? You think the CEOs of BP and Shell and Woodside on a first name basis with Kevin Ramnarayan or David Lee? Or on a first name basis with Kamala Pasabi Sessa? You think any of them even know who she is? Or care to know who she is? But last week, Monday, David Lee, at the Monday Night Forum, he had to talk about energy. And the usual chopper talk propaganda, they decimate the energy sector, and the energy sector in a mess, and you need to put them back in office so that they could fix and whatnot. And he is advocating that instead of focusing on all of these gas fields in Venezuela, that the government should focus on what he calls in-border gas. So offer incentives like they did between 2010 to 2015 to the energy companies for them to come to Trinidad and look for gas in Trinidad waters. Forget about Mannequin and Coquina. Forget about Manatee. Forget about Dragon and any of the other gas fields that straddling Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. No, focus on Trinidad alone. You heard what Stuart Young said there, right? Since 2019, they got the agreement from Venezuela to delink Manatee and Loran. 2024, 5 years later, the final investment decision has now been taken. And this is a field where they know that it had gas. They know the gas is there. You have to go and spend no money to look for it and do a kind of seismic research and see if it's commercially viable and stuff. We know how much it have there, and right. But it took 5 years. But David Lee is telling you, no, forget that. While you come, we will give you incentives. Come and drill and explore in Trinidad waters and see what all you could find. So if it took 5 years, where we know it had gas, to reach to that agreement, how many years do you think it would take for us to, if we explore, find, and then bring the gas up and start to sell it? If these people now have to come and look, you know how much time that will take? So when we're looking at a window of 3 years, 2027, Dragon Gas, Manatee, Coquina Mannequin, right? And Ginger, you heard him talk about that there too. All of these fields supposed to come on between 2025 and 2027. Let me just read one more thing for you before I open the lines, because it's almost 1 o'clock. And I really get into what, but we will listen to the next part of Stuart Young on another day. Where is it? Where this thing is? Right. So. Right, there's the article I'm looking for. There's a Reuters article. Whoever wins election, Venezuela faces natural gas problem. This is dated July 24, 2024. Here it says, Caracas, Venezuela. Griselda, Ascanio keeps an improvised wood-burning stove ready in her backyard in Maracay, 120 kilometers from Venezuela's capital, for the frequent gas supply interruptions that make it difficult to cook. So they have gas supply issues in Venezuela. She says, we cannot just cry about it. We cannot just cry about it, said the 44-year-old administrator who collects branches that falls from trees, so we have learned to solve problems ourselves. So when they do have gas, they take in the coconut branches and they're using that, right? While it sits atop the world's 8th largest natural gas reserves, 8th largest, and the biggest in Latin America, Venezuela ranked last year as the 25th largest global producer, according to Energy Institute's statistical review of world energy. The South American country's output fell from 4 billion cubic feet per day, or rather fell to 4 billion cubic feet per day this year from almost 8 billion cubic feet per day in 2016. Right now, we producing about 2.5. They're producing 4 billion, down from 8 billion in 2016. A production revival is urgent not only because it would assure more reliable domestic supply, but also because it could ease shortages emerging in neighboring countries while bringing Venezuela much needed hard currency revenue. Who's in neighboring countries are talking about here with shortages? Trinidad and Tobago. This is Reuters. The gas problem is a key issue as a presidential election approaches on July 28th. Whoever wins faces the daunting task of securing investment in the OPEC members' gas industry. President Maduro's administration has doubled down on offering gas projects to foreign companies since last year, but long-standing unpaid debts to many of the companies, US sanctions, and the enormous investments required have limited progress. The main question, or the main opposition coalition, represented by Edmundo Gonzalez in the voting, has proposed radically expanding the private sector's role while restructuring the country's $150 billion debt, something analysts say would take years. So they owe over $150 billion in debts to energy companies who are reluctant to do anything in Venezuela until they get paid. Nobody is going to massively produce gas in Venezuela in these conditions. But where there is immediate interest in a small-scale midstream project, said Antero Alvarado, managing partner of Gas Energy Latin America, referring to pipelines and systems to better capture and distribute gas. Venezuela's problems have hampered development, leading to frequent scarcity of the fuel essential for cooking, generating power, and feeding the petrochemical plants and factories. The gas Ascanio intermittently receives at her home arrives in cylinders whose distribution is controlled by the government-supported groups. That subsidized propane is among the most expensive fuels PDVSA's refineries produce. Sometimes the state-owned company even resorts to importing that gas, but it costs in way. But Venezuela have all the oil and all the gas and had to import. Why? Neighbors from Colombia to Brazil and Trinidad and Tobago and many European nations are hopeful that Venezuela's production could eventually ease their own gas shortfalls. So they have gas shortfalls in Colombia, gas shortfalls in Brazil, and certain other European nations. So as it says here, all are hopeful that Venezuela's production could eventually ease their own gas shortfalls. So when the fully does, and the supporters trying to make it seem as only in Trinidad gas production falling, and Kevin Ramrine is happy to put up a graph showing you how gas production has fallen from 2010 down to 2024, right? But wouldn't it tell you why that is so, and that is not unique to us, to other major gas producing countries who are facing a similar issue because of mature fields? He ain't gonna talk about that. Where is Karen Nunes Teixeira, who loves to always have a comment to make when it comes to the energy sector? You feel Ralph Maraj will write on that? No. Where is Mariano? I continue. I ain't no gas expert. They have pressured the Biden administration to grant gas project exemptions from sanctions, company executives and government officials have said. PDVSA, its gas subsidiary, did not reply for requests for comments. Here it is. Venezuela's almost 200 trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserves are mostly untapped. Let me repeat that. Venezuela's almost 200 trillion cubic feet of proven gas. That's just the proven. We don't know what else they have out there that has not yet been proven. But we know they have more than the 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas that is untapped. So 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas just sitting there under the waters, and it's just there. It's just there. Nothing happening. That is money. Billions and trillions of US dollars just sitting there doing nothing. And the rest, Venezuela flaring it every day. It's just literally going up in smoke. And we need it. Venezuela's natural gas production has historically been limited in comparison to its potential. Some 80% of Venezuela's gas output is associated with crude production. In the last 5 years, unprocessed gas flared into the atmosphere during oil production has surpassed volumes sold commercially, turning the country into one of the world's largest natural gas players. They're flaring more gas than we producing on a daily basis. You can imagine that? What we need, we desperate for, that just going up in smoke every day as they producing oil. Offshore large gas productions and exploration and production projects remain mostly stalled, especially the massive 12 trillion cubic feet Mariscal Sucre. Only one of its 4 fields is in active negotiation between the government and energy firms Shell and Trinidad and Tobago, NGC, for a joint development that could see the first output late next year. This is late 2025. Again, Trinidad and Tobago, in this Reuters article, Reuters, which is an international publication, keeps mentioning Trinidad and Tobago's name. Let me repeat that. Offshore, only one of its 4 fields is in active negotiation between the government and energy firm Shell and Trinidad and Tobago's NGC. Nobody else. Not any European country, not Brazil, not Colombia, Trinidad. 4 fields they have, and only Trinidad alone is in negotiations with it. Nobody else. So we in front. We have the advantage above everybody else, right? But David Lee telling you, nah, forget that. Focus on in-border gas. Give incentives. Tell the energy companies, come to Trinidad and Tobago. Drill, 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 baby, drill. come and look for new gas, new oil. And if you don't find none, whatever money you spend to drill, minus that against the tax liabilities and the royalties that you're supposed to pay to the government for the other fields that are active and producing oil and gas, the money you're making from that you should have been paying in taxes, keep that taxes and write it off against whatever you spend to look for new gas when you know it have gas across in Venezuela. And all it takes is a negotiation for Trinidad and Tobago to bring it here, because we have the infrastructure that Venezuela doesn't have. We have the contacts with Shell and BP. Stuart Young and Keith Rowley could do what Shell and BP executives can't do. They could leverage, they have diplomatic leverage. So they could go and sit down in the White House and with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and negotiate to get OFAC license. The principals of these big energy companies can't do that. They cannot negotiate for a country because they are not part of the government. Only the government could do that. And once the government secures the negotiations and the licenses, then they could approach these companies and say, come. But BP and Shell can't go and sit down with Kamala Harris and say, well, we want to, we're looking for a license to go and develop Venezuela gas and Trinidad gas. To which Mr. Harris will say, well, you spoke to the governments of these countries, they give you permission as well? Well, no. So how you could come and talk on their behalf? So you see the power that Stuart Young and Keith Rowley have? So when that bald-headed lout was in room 201 telling you nonsense about, oh, they went and they spoiled the thing and they get outsmart, and when Professor Misinformation and Captain Clueless want to go, oh, how the Prime Minister could go and negotiate and the Minister could go and negotiate, that is corruption. Those two fools who have a clue what they're talking about. If you look at our conversation like what Stuart Young just had with Daria, offshore, right, so we touch on that. Helped by a flexible law that requires less red tape for gas projects than oil projects, Venezuelan government has begun internal talks to offer a second field, Rio Caribe, for foreign investment, according to sources familiar with the plan. Who is in the lead to be able to get that, the Rio Caribe? Who is in the best position to get that? We have a relationship with the Venezuelan government. We already have contracts from them, 20-year contract, 30-year contracts. We have the infrastructure. If somebody else who are far off from Europe or whoever has to come now and set up, you know how long that's going to take? Because they have to build more infrastructure to take the gas from the seabed if they have to set up in Venezuela. So you now have to go and build an LNG plant in Venezuela when we already have it here. When the government wanted to preserve Train 1, they say, oh, they waste 200 million. Where the gas coming from? Where are they getting gas? Your mommy? You remember that? Where you getting the gas, Keith? From your mommy? But now the gas coming. Manatee, 2.7 trillion cubic feet of gas. Coquina Mannequin, 1 trillion cubic feet of gas. Dragon, 4.7 trillion cubic feet of gas. See the amount? 2027. With 200 trillion cubic feet of gas just there, waiting. And the Venezuelan government, whether it's Maduro or the opposition, is saying, we need to farm out these acreages to foreign governments, private sector, because the government doesn't have the money to develop that. And Trinidad and Tobago stands ready to get as much as that as we possibly could. But understand, Kamala can't do that. Kevin Ramnarine can't do that. David Lee can't do that because they have no relationship with Maduro. For the past 9 years, for the past 9 years or so, they've had nothing good to say about Nicolas Maduro. So Kamala's latest John talking about a corrupt cook-up between Maduro and Keith Rowley and Jindal. You feel Mr. Maduro hear about that? You feel he wants anything to do with her? So if sanctions are eased or whatever as the case may be, understand that that doesn't solve the problem for us if Prasad Bisesta is prime minister. You think she's going to go and grovel to Mr. Maduro and say, I'm sorry for all the things I said? I'm sorry for supporting Juan Guaido over you publicly? Ask yourself, with what is happening in Venezuela with the elections, you hear Kamala say anything about it? 2018, she was only happy and too quick to put out a statement to say that she and the UNC supports Juan Guaido. Up to now, not one word about Venezuela. The UNC has not put out an official position on Venezuela at all. Finger on the lip, they mouth have a zip because they realize if they see all the things that Stuart Young and Keith Rowley doing, all of the contracts that they sign in, you feel a little don't know about Manatee, and that Manatee is not going to be affected by what happens. But they understand if Maduro remains, as in 2018, and the Supreme Court has already declared that he is the winner, so if it is that it goes that way, and he remains for another 6 years, and they win in 2025, they have an uphill task to negotiate anything with Maduro after all the things that they have said and all the things that she has accused him of. And then how can you now go and negotiate with Nicolas Maduro after you tell us he in a corrupt cook-up with Keith Rowley and Naveen Jindal to refine Venezuelan crude here? So you accuse the man of being in a corrupt cook-up, and then what, you go in and shake hands with him in Miraflores? Really? How are you doing that? So all of a sudden she gone silent. She don't want to compound, right? So she have nothing to say about what's happening there. A 20-year Venezuelan license to develop the 1 trillion cubic feet of gas field that extends into Trinidad waters involving BP and Trinidad's NGC was granted on Wednesday following U.S. authorization for the project in May. U.S. authorization. We are making a monumental step in the right direction, said President Nicolas Maduro during the signing ceremony. Oil Minister Pedro Telechia has said doors are open to foreign investors following individual licenses Washington recently resumed issuing for specific developments in Venezuela. But many gas producers in Venezuela no longer have the means to ramp up production unless PDVSA first repays debts, company executives said. Where are they going to get the money from? All of these gas sharing contracts with Trinidad and Tobago. So right now, Trinidad and Tobago is the biggest asset Venezuela has, right? The biggest asset that Venezuela has right now. But the quickest turnover for the gas in terms of getting money is Trinidad and Tobago. We have Shell, we have BP, we have Woodside, EOG, all of these entities there waiting with money to invest. They're just waiting to get the go ahead and say, look, the license, fix up. Do your seismic research, whatever it is, put your infrastructure and do it as you have to do. So even if sanctions are lifted, let's say that somehow Maduro leaves and the new government comes in and sanctions are eased or lifted, as the case may be. First port of call was the quickest entity we could turn to get money. We can't afford to wait 5 and 10 years. Trinidad and Tobago. But you hear them talking now? Let me just wrap this up. In what would be a policy U-turn, the opposition wants to reopen the energy industry to foreign investment through privatization while limiting PDVSA's role in restructuring debts and including paying some creditors with oil. Paying some creditors with oil. The strategy would break with 2 decades of nationalization that has concentrated almost all production, transportation, processing, and sales in the state's hands. The country would need more electricity, hence more gas. And if a privatization in the power sector happens, there will be economic incentives to produce gas for domestic sales, while larger offshore projects could focus on exports even through LNG. So let's see what is at stake. Now, when I listen to David Lee talking about focus on in-border gas and stop hitching the country's economic wagon to fields that belong to another country, understand what they're saying. He has to say that because he knows they do not have a relationship with the current leadership of Venezuela. And if they come into office next year and Maduro is the man sitting in Miraflores, they have problems. So he's already setting the pace. So we're not interested in Venezuela. We're focusing on in-border gas. So come and find gas in Trinidad waters. And he wants to give you the impression that if you find gas in Trinidad waters, all of our problems solved. Yes, we find it there. We have it in Trinidad waters. Good. Coquina Mannequin, right? Which BP and EOG are about to develop that field. So we're looking for first gas there in 2027, right? So the natural gas drought probably has about another 2.5, 3 years. And in that time, who knows what else could happen where we could have access to other fields. It's 200 trillion cubic feet of gas we're talking about with Venezuela, right? But BP, the Coquina field, you all know when BP discovered that field? In 1983. 1983, for the last 41 years, that 1 trillion cubic feet of gas has just been sitting there playing all fours, relaxing, chilling, waiting for somebody to come and drop some infrastructure to bring it to commercial use. 1983, I was still in Pampers, still drinking from bottle in 1983. 41 years later, look at what has happened. Right? Look at what has happened. 41 years it took. You know when they discovered mannequin? In the year 2000, 23 years ago. 23 years ago. But David Lee want to give you the impression that they come and they drill now and they find gas today, that next year, everything in again. That's how it's supposed to happen. But 2 gas fields that are now, they were in office from 2010 to 2015. You all ever heard, between 2010 to 2015, you all heard the word coquina? You heard the words mannequin? Didn't hear that at all. Not one mention of that between those years. Kevin Ramnaraine's biggest claim to fame while he was Minister of Energy is that 8 energy companies lost over $10 billion in revenue under his watch because of gas curtailments. And as he told us, no gas curtailment, it's just routine maintenance taking place. That the Point Lisas Energy Association had to send this man 2 letters over the course of 3 years, telling him of the challenges that they were facing with respect to gas, and letting him know, if Trinidad, if all they don't have gas, let us know, right? Because we reaching out to you, we're trying to help you, but understand we don't need to stay here. There are other countries where gas is more reliable, and we have no problems packing up and leaving and going there where we don't have no problems, no issues. 3 years, 2 letters. Over the course of 3 years. 1 gas contract they signed. 1. You hear any of them contradicting what Stuart Young said? That interview was since the 15th of August. Today is the 1st of September. You hear any of them contradict what he said there? No. But they decimate the energy sector, and the energy sector in a mess, and Trinidad this, and the country and the economy in a mess. But meanwhile, Keith Rowley and Stuart Young and the government of Trinidad and Tobago is trying to secure as much of that 200 trillion cubic feet of gas in Venezuela that Venezuela cannot develop for themselves and need help. Venezuela is outsourcing. They're farming it out. They're basically sending us a signal saying, look, this is what we plan to do. So get all your house in order. Organize all yourself with BP and Shell and whoever else you need to, so that if and when sanction is, and when it is that we are able to offer these fields, you all should be first in the line. First in the line to get as much as you need. You know how long it would take to develop 200 trillion cubic feet of gas? All of us listening here will probably be dead by that time. So we got to go. 200 trillion cubic feet. And so far, we have been able to secure 8. 8 out of 200 trillion cubic feet. And if it is that, as Stuart Young mentioned, Manatee, which is 2.7 trillion cubic feet, works out about 104 barrels, 104,000 is the equivalent of 104,000 barrels per day. Multiply that by the 8 trillion cubic feet between Coquina, Manatee, Dragon. Loran, which straddles Manatee, which we delinked. But the negotiations was for Trinidad and Tobago to develop Loran and Manatee. Loran alone is 7.2 trillion cubic feet of gas. 7.2 trillion, almost the equivalent of Manatee, Coquina, and what's the other one? And Dragon put together. Loran alone is almost the equivalent of that. And we were negotiating to get Loran. So between those 4 and Loran, we're looking at close to 15 trillion cubic feet of gas available to Trinidad and Tobago out of proven reserves, 200 trillion cubic feet. If we could get another 15 or another 30, but understand, Kamla Persad-Bissessar cannot do that. Kevin Ramnarine cannot do that. David Lee cannot do that because they have vilified Nicolas Maduro and the Venezuelan government. And Maduro ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Keith Rowley could do that. Stuart Young could do that. The current government of Trinidad and Tobago could do that. They have already done it. And they are well poised to do it again and again and again. That is why Stuart said he is on first name basis with the CEO of BP, the CEO of Shell, the CEO of Woodside, right? And soon enough, when they have all of these summits and so on, these guys talk. They talk. So it's only a matter of time before others turn their eyes to Trinidad and Tobago as well and looking to come here and invest. But we ain't having that conversation. No, Stuart Young and Keith Rowley stupid. They went to negotiate gas and they get outsmarted. Yeah? And the only savior for the energy sector is Kamla Persad-Bissessar, right? 7701-763. We'll continue this discussion on another day. It's already 20 past 1. Let's see this thing here. Put on this. Jay, give me 1 sec. Let me just switch this thing here. So, Jenny.
Hi, Dominic.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic. Good afternoon, all the callers and listeners of Facts and Stubborn Things. I want to say first congratulations to my member of parliament, Mr. Suon SC,
Yes.
on getting the nod again to act as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago while Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley is away on his medical trip to Suon and fix himself.
No,
At the end
message
of
him
the
one
day,
time.
people can say what they want. If you look after yourself, nobody will look after yourself for you. And the conversation about why Dr. Rowley don't use a local doctors or the local health care system, he has do that. But the last time when he was at West Shore and some medical tech come out and spread the man business all over, you don't see when Kamala and them go away to see about the medical or anything, you don't see anything at all. At least Dr. Rowley does tell us where he's going. So we know what he's doing. And when he comes back, he does hold a press conference and tell us what's happening. And that is the difference between Dr. Rowley and the rest of it. So I continues. Dominic, I want to congratulate
Jen, let me just say this too.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Jenny, let me just add this too. As former Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar is also entitled to the same benefits. So when these polydons want to talk about Dr. Rowley, they need to be reminded of that.
Yeah, but a lot of them, Dominic, they go abroad for all the medical services and those stay in Trinidad.
Exactly.
Because they don't want nobody to know what happening with them because they're afraid somebody go and talk.
That's right.
So are they saying by the action they don't trust the medical professionals there? But anything Dr. Rowley does, it has to create news because they don't have nothing on it. While them playing checkers, he playing chess. He's light years away from them. So as I was saying, I'd like to congratulate the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, the military, Trinidad and Tobago, and all who came out to make yesterday, our 62nd anniversary of independence, a successful one. That they would have stood up against the doomers and the gloomers and those who want to spread fear in this country and said, listen, while we know we have our challenges with crime and other issues, we are not going to sit down and wallow in tears and pity, gloom and doom. Put your hand up in the air and say we don't know what to do. We are going out to celebrate what is ours because we understand the importance of independence. Because all who talk in is foolishness. In America, we have mass shooting and all kind of crime. The Democrats and the Republicans and all, whether brown, white, or black, that celebrate the 4th of July with pride. All of them. So I don't see what is the issue with people coming out to celebrate what is ours. We are a very young nation at the end of the day.
Yes.
And we deserve at the end of the day to smile. 24/7, you can't be sitting down in depression. You can't be sitting down in fear. You can't be sitting down in hopelessness. So all those who exercised the right yesterday to come out and enjoy and have a good time, I say congratulations. And to the doomers and the gloomers, always stay right there. Always go end up in hospital faster than people because all they go have suffer from all kind of anxiety-related issues and all kind of depression issues. Because all they can take one day to celebrate something. I want to know if you could be in a state of sadness and worry 24/7. It's not realistic. Dominic, if you bounce your toe and your toe end up in some cast or something, the whole world must stop and be sad with you. Nobody can celebrate somebody smiling. They go say, oh God, how Dominic could have foot in cast and look Jenny smiling. Oh God, look, Juliet smiling. Look. That's how it has go. Anywho, let me continue. This government continue to show that they are in the interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, all peoples. And that's what the PNM has been since its exception in 1956, no matter what they say. We would have seen the UNC in operation under Mr. Basio Pandey, God rest his soul, and under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, she had gotten a large mandate because other small political groups joined with her. So everybody got blown away by the fact that all these different voices will give the UNC a more national blend, because by themselves they're not national. And in truth, all of them, they drop out. They talk about corruption. I say degenerates. I just had next week a bunch of degenerates. You hear Dr. Devamarat speaking about it. You hear Abdullah speaking about it. Roger speaking about it. Deceased Makanda Laga speaking about it. Philip Alexander speaking about it. Gary Griffith speaking about it. Jack Warner speaking about it. So I go into what they say, a bunch of degenerates. They say corrupt, I say degenerates. And to show you how Kamla Prasad Bisesa had no love for Trinidad and Tobago. Yesterday she sent degenerates to represent the UNC at the function. But not only that, if next year wasn't going to be an election year, there wasn't coming no way. So that just to tell you the importance they put on it. It wasn't important to them. Because I look at the caliber that she sent there, a man who, before the cost of $1 million bail. And next one, who lie as the Speaker of the House to the country and saying that the judiciary sent here a letter so he can't speak about the issue with that when Jack Warner wanted to bring the issue up with the then finance minister. And the next one, I don't know what his role in the union movement. I don't think he had no success at all. Waste that time. That is what they sent to represent UNC at the Independence Parade. Where was Rudan Munilal? Is he not a deputy political leader? Where is Khadija Ahmed? Isn't she also a deputy political leader? Asking. Where is Jolene John? Isn't she also not a deputy political leader? But worse yet, where's the opposition leader? The official opposition leader, Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Prasad Bisesa. She wasn't there. So I'm painting a picture now because I'm coming to the end. We see that they don't have a head for business. Kevin Ramnarayan was a failure as the energy minister. In fact, all of them who was in the PP government, they're failures at what they do. They even bring in Geraldo Rambran, who was a failure as the governor of the central bank. Anything they touch that's turned to dust. They blight. So if all here, who doesn't listen to Dominic, as I continue to say, and listen to Sharon Felix and Juliette Davy and everybody else, John and John, Darren Marcel, all those who on social media, the keyboard warriors who put in the information out there for you. And all they want to, when 2025, come go and put back in a bunch of degenerates who don't understand business, who don't understand the energy sector, who don't understand diplomacy, who don't understand nothing other than packing the pocket. It's not me say so. So I say after who was with them who say so. And all they're going to sit on home and don't go out and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement. Well, all of we go eat the bread with the devil need. All of we go eat the grass that Kamla said in 2020 we go eat. And all of we go get we bag with greasy doubles in we hand and some banana and say, oh, they take that. Because we see ads that was under the purview of Kamla Prasad Bisesa when they had the election 2020, and she never did anything about it. Because I saw they think about it. We will see the way they're going and reversing all kind of things. They might even go in and reverse the proclamation at the steel pan gain, the national instrument. They might go and reverse all the things that this government have put in place in our interest for the development of this country and bring us back to where everything is chaos, mayhem, and bacchanal. Because that's the only thing Kamla could rule in. And that is the only thing the UNC are accustomed with. Mayhem, confusion, bacchanal, corruption, thieving, lying. That is all them about. So if all want this country to go forward on a progressive party, a national party, a transformational leader, then all need to go out and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement. If all want the pity and gloom and doom and fear, corruption and bacchanal, sit down home and let the UNC take over Trinidad and Tobago, and then we go say, oh me, I. And then only have all this stuff to blame. Dominic, you'll have a blessed week to everybody. Love everybody. I go.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Damo, you my darling.
I am good.
There's a dance called Mahendra Raghunandan, who said if the UNC build 100 of schools and PM Rowley is picked off from little week. So I want to know what part of Jubilee they living in. And Embert is the Prime Minister that Rowley chose. So what schools did UNC build? What schools did UNC build? I want to know Mahendra Raghunandan. And under the UNC there was no crime. What is the SOE about in 2011? Did I miss something? Was I drunk in a crypt and dead? Show me the schools, name every school he built, and PM Rowley never in the country. He was on a vacation. Did he go to Dubai a couple of months ago? Did I miss something? And Kamala, the school will open this week under this admin. I the PM of the Dutch, because apparently you open schools, you build hospitals, you build airports, and you build health centers. What is wrong with those people? I'm trying to fix the students, father, so you try to go to school tomorrow. With a prayer protection of each child, each driver, I pray God for teachers and each school medic, oh Lord God. That God, they will learn. They'll put the minds in studies, Father God, no God. They'll pick up the books, Father. Lord God, will be next generation of doctors, lawyers, farmers, teachers, plumbers. God is nation. Each needs a block to build this land. And a block by itself is a block. When blocks and cement can come together, Father, walls are built. Lord, bless them. Keep them safe. God bless them. God, keep them safe for his human service, Father. I speak well over them. And I speak well over everyone who calls this program, who is his Father. And God, I pray information will take hold and be spread. No more lies or slander. And I give you thanks and praise. Just name, amen. Goodbye later.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the callers, listeners, and the avid viewers of another segment. I don't know what happened Thursday, but that's all right. All right, let me take this opportunity to say yesterday was a very tremendous and historical day in our 62 years of independence, and the amount of children that I would have seen in Port of Spain yesterday really have me in awe, because these are the generation that will be leading the country going forward, right? So I must say, for all the naysayers, all the negative doers, all the doom and gloomers, sit down there and dwell on that. The people of this country are patriotic people. 1.5 million of us is not the UNC or the UNC trolls that will be lapping up all the misinformation and propaganda that is being leveled every day in the country. It's a patriotic Trinidadians and Tobagonians in this country who put country before party and not the other way around. Right? With that being said, then out of the way. Now, I heard he was playing a clip with Minister Young, who I would have the pleasure of meeting yesterday as well. He himself and Scotland. right? Now, he would have delved into the energy sector, which I think, Dominic, that this man, read him, the chief whip, David Lee, he don't have the tenacity or the testicular fortitude to go out there to promote or to get relations with other countries for Trinidad and Tobago. He don't have that temerity. Yeah, that's all them know is what them think or they're feeling, what they could hoodwink the population with the frivolous and the lies and deception. David Lee knows nothing about energy in this country. Nothing whatsoever. You understand? Just like the one down in Oropuch West, Tango knows nothing about finance. Right? We never get first of all, I guess so disenchanted what I'm calling him. I just don't even to call him. You understand? Because they have no class in this country whatsoever. Right now, I see they open the bridge down in Central, they was making noise for. Not a soul, Dominic, in common media and say, I want to publicly thank the Ministry of Works for reopening the bridge in time for school tomorrow morning. Not a UNC MP, councillor, not even the mayor, but a public congratulations to the government for opening the bridge. You know why? Because they want to get the kudos to say, yes, we get the government to come and take some from people. It's not about that. It's about the unity of the country. It's about getting things done, not only for PNM areas that already is deemed that is PNM areas. The PNM party is for entirety of the country. But when UNC go there, they only focus on south of the Caribbean River and the hell was the East-West corridor. Or what they would have said, give us what they feel to give us because we are animals, what they deem as what eat bananas. And they have these fools on them and these little like bottom Africans on them in the party, cussing and making noise on behalf of the party as if they're gonna get something when they do get there or if they get there, which I know they wouldn't. Because I know Trinidadian people and the Bagola people have class. Or they wouldn't throw away 9 years, almost a decade, to promote these people here. And all these things that the government, at the end of the day, would have put in place to better the lives of citizens, will go to naught. You understand? My take is, people, we in September already. Next 3 months, the year coming to an end. January coming is full steam ahead, going straight down till probably October, November. You never know when Dr. Local election. But we have to stay focused. We have to chart the course. We have to continue with the information and the facts being leveled, pushed out in the public domain. We have to counteract the misinformation, the disinformation, and the propaganda. We have to counteract that. So people stay focused. Let us continue and steer the wheel because God forbid, and I'm putting it on notice to the listeners of this page and program, we're not going to sit down and put out all this information to Dominic and the admins and everybody on this page. And then come next year, or they'll do the opposite. It will come like the admins and Dominic would have wasted 2 years of his time and their time to bring information to Olia. And Olia just went and do the opposite. Right? So people follow the Bunking page, follow Larry Talking page, and all these pages where you get the accurate information going forward, coming, because you know, come 2025, the UNC social media machine, misinformation and propaganda machine is going to be in full swing with all the AIs, artificial intelligence, going to come out and deliver us a lot of misinformation and characterize, slanderizing people's personality, people's family, people's lives. So let me be focused and let's get the engine running. Go to Jenny, mission on 2025. People, let's stay focused. Follow our page and let us get the job done. Locked on and listening.
Thank you, sir. So, let me just get this here. Let me just get Mr. Yates here. Put him here. So. Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Mr. Yates, go ahead.
Yeah, are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Well, things are a little blurred, but let me just say this quickly. I want to be very clear. I want to be discreet.
Yes.
And you will know what I mean by being discreet. Your program is a very heavily subscribed program.
Yes.
And you're not going to get me talking on your YouTube thing forever.
Right.
Let me just say this very quickly. I want to be fair to everybody.
Yes.
I'm fair to you. Let me say this. People may think that I'm obsessed with Ralph Mirage, but I'll tell you, except for little cameo references by the Women's League, nobody else in the PNM talks up on behalf of Dr. Rowley and the senior minister, other than the Women's League from time to time. No officer, not chairman, not education officer, not general secretary, nobody. And I am damn upset about that. And I've told Mr. Chance already, I am fed up being just a couple of us, being the voice in the wilderness, speaking up for this man who happens to be the Prime Minister of this country. So let me just say this. I mean, I am to open my express this morning. And the height of dishonesty and disingenuousness. Imagine this man is saying that he has been recommending for years and going back to 1962, that we have such a bad constitution. And he has always been saying, listen to this, I've always been saying that an MP should not also be a minister of government. Imagine that. But this wretch sucked up to Patrick Manning in 1991, was given a safe seat in San Fernando. Having won it, he was made a minister of government, minister of foreign affairs. Good? He had nothing to say about the dual role, about an MP being also a minister. He comes today to lament that situation. Further, having betrayed Patrick Manning, he went to Pandy's UNC. First statement on the platform in Central Trinidad, I feel at home. I feel at home. So you were never at home in Patrick Manning's government. But you are wrong too much black people. What is your problem? So, right. So, Pandy gave you a safe seat. I think it was Naparima. And he also made you Minister of Foreign Affairs. You didn't have any problem with an MP also being a minister at that time. So, Ralph Mirage, you're a damn hypocrite. You are lying. You are burning your bridges. You are a hypocrite and a liar of the worst kind. I am saying that today without any fear of being contradicted. In two separate administrations, two separate parties, two separate prime ministers, you were both an MP and a minister of government. What rubbish you come in and write it in the papers today? So suddenly you get this epiphany that you find is a bad thing. It wasn't a bad thing on two occasions when you were in that same position, MP and minister. You had no problem then because you were enjoying the perks of office and enjoying the fat of the land. But now that Dr. Rowley has no need for you, and you're out in the cold, and not even UNC have time for you. Now that you are out, you suddenly find that being an MP and a minister is unfair to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And it is an affront to the Constitution. You can't fool me, Ras Maraj. You can't fool me. And thinking people in this country should be brutally aware of your lies, your hypocrisy, not to mention your racist suggestions. You also come in today to tell people about that you for proportional representation and that the first past the post is terrible for this country. You won an election twice under the same first past the post system. Nothing was wrong then, but it's wrong today because you're out of power and you're out of favor. And so the only reason you're talking today about proportional representation, and you are repeating what Kamala Prasad Bissessa tried to fight on this country in 2013, the runoff thing. We know about that, but I know why you are supporting that. It is the same reason Bissessa came up with that. After Section 34, she was so damn afraid of losing the government in 2015, which eventually happened. She tried a thing. She tried to come up with something 2 years before the general election. Let us try to corral the Indian vote so that we will win the election in 2015. And it is the same damn thing with you writing today, telling me about you are glamorizing proportional representation. It's to flip Indian power back into this country. That is the reason for it. But when you were a minister, you had no problem with first past the post because it suited you and your backward, Cedrus-based racial politics. That is what happened with you. Self-serving as usual. Thank you, Mr. Roman. Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. I read it, but it's only because I didn't have the time today to address it. Right? This man write a whole article about constitutional reform and made no mention of the fact that the government can do nothing without the support of the opposition. That the opposition in Trinidad and Tobago has made it abundantly clear they have no intentions of supporting any constitutional reform under this administration, right? No mention of that. Talking about the only thing that they offer for constitutional reform is the coat of arms. What did Kamala offer? Run off, amputate your index finger. So if the party that you support don't get 25% or more votes in the first round, to hell with all you. Vote for those who get through. Otherwise, sit down when the next round comes. But no mention of that. No mention of that. But I intend to deal with that article. I will touch on it Tuesday. Let's see who we have here. One sec. Dishonest bastard. That's why I fully support John Gill. Once he there, John wants nothing to do with it. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Brian.
Hey, good afternoon to you, Dominic.
Greetings.
How are you?
I am good at yourself.
Lovely. So Dominic, you and your alumni, colleagues and so on went and repaint the school, I think.
That's right.
Please that time you could have got a little contract and make a little money and paint it for a little 10,000 and cost of 250,000 and make a little change in your pocket. What do you man? Look at party to the dredge in front of the Hyatt, so that both and things could come and our minister sign up on the contract and pay the money. And it's now John Dredge.
Yeah. That was for the Superfast Galicia?
Huh?
That was for the Superfast Galicia?
Yes, you remember Minister sign up and said, well, dredge and so on, when this government got in office in 2015, not one piece of dredging. Your Honorable Prime Minister spoke about us last week and said, if we know on the dredging.
But Brian, that was $50 million, Brian. What you telling me?
So what you gonna pay the school for? Easy money. And you sign off and your point is up and water down face and you sign off on easy money and you collect money from the government. You just send in your documents and you easy. You got to pay this school for free? And you could have collected a couple $100,000, started water paint. As soon as rain fall, it fall off. No man, you understanding this thing, man. Contract. You're gonna dredge, right? And I say you dredge, I sign off because you dredge. What am I dredging? Not finished. So we have to pay again. Another government has to come and pay again. And is there anybody talking about that? Is there anybody talking about that? When they say CPAP was drinking from the trough, in 2015, a man put his government in court for a CPAP contractor put his government in court for millions of dollars because he got a contract to do something else in construction. Contract is the way to go, my brother. Contract. Don't want to pay no school again. Wait. I'm money to make. Because the treasury is full. Overfull as I'm overflowing. We have money to make, my brother. That is how you make money under a particular party. You say you do something, okay, you really do nothing. John Gill still waiting on the list of the 106 schools. Just the other day, I had to listen. So many schools supposed to be condemned because they're so old. I see my way now. Where these schools are? And the MP for Barataria, Sawa, come to a meeting week over the weekend last week in jacket and tie. A school walkthrough. Because you know the cameras will be there. You come in jacket and tie. So come out 30 minutes later, and something like that, and you get on them in no good.
Yes.
After 10 million done spent, and what he's saying is, listen, we can fix this in a day. Let's have some movie equipment. And that makes news for 2 days up to this morning. For 2 days, that makes news. That's what they call a school. Out of all the work done all over the country. One particular station played that yesterday, and they played again today twice. I don't know the corruption. I mean, come on. It's everybody and everything against this government, regardless of what they do. How many times you will come here and talk about what is going on in the oil and gas industry? David Lee knows absolutely nothing. Eric is correct. He knows absolutely nothing. He's talking about onshore drilling. Touchstone drilling onshore alone. Every drilling, and they're only getting oil, mainly oil. They've expanded as a matter of fact the onshore drilling. We're talking about gas. That's what we're talking about. Because gas can help us with respect to Atlantic LNG and our exports, as well as what we're doing onshore for the downstream industries. BPTT is proud. They have gotten into the partnership with EOG to drill the coconut field. And they told them, you all go ahead and you all do the work. We'll share it 50-50 because we want to concentrate on the ginger field, another field. And this is not talking about what is happening between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago and NGC. That is why it is Reuters and all these other international agencies following us. That is why the European Union attempted to supported us and tried to influence United States to give us the OFAC license, these special OFAC licenses. People won't understand these things. It's taking billions of dollars just to prepare to get the oil to Atlantic LNG. And that's why Venezuela has absolutely no problem in dealing with us because you don't have no other Atlantic LNG anywhere near here. And it's this alone costing billions of dollars. Shell said so when they made the final investment decision, the FID, because they recognize this and we have to make billions of dollars. Well, this is US we're talking about, not PG, of investments in order to get this done, and they incorporated McDermott and so on and all these other people to ensure that we have the correct pipeline and so on, and we get the gas coming. Because it will come. It's who we want to vote for in 2025 to ensure that the work continues and the negotiations continues so we can get more of that 200 trillion cost of gas. That just lying idle in Venezuelan waters. You think Maduro don't know this? You think Maduro doesn't realize that, listen, we ain't getting money that America has for us, so we could easily get money from Trinidad and Tobago while they explore our fields? That just laying idle since how long you say? Since 1983?
Yep.
When all of you were still nearly coming out of Pampas and still in short term? Really? People have to understand these things. This is not all talk. This is not negotiation that takes place over 2 drinks or 2 beers. Anyway, Mudro, drink one with me now. Let me talk now. Yeah, boy. No! These are serious negotiations in The Hague, in London, in Houston. Serious negotiating. And even for us, I keep repeating this, so people have to understand. When that gas begins to come, money begins to come immediately before we even sell 1 scoop of gas. Because of the 10% that we have on those trains 1, 2, 3, and 4. Money begins to come immediately once those trains start up. You got to understand these things. There's a lot of money. Mr. Charles keeps talking about the Human Development Index and where we are. Dr. Rowley spoke about our well-being and how and our economy and our standard of living has to be maintained. He talk about these things. It cannot be maintained with only the manufacturing sector. He has also indicated that for years to come, beyond our years, that gas will be the catalyst to keep Trinidad and Tobago whole, to keep Trinidad and Tobago in an economy, in a certain standard, to develop our standard of living and so on. We talk about it. It drives everything. Minister Young spoke about it when he replayed what his interview with Dalion a couple of weeks ago, that gas drives everything. You like switch when you want to put on and take off your light, your air conditioned unit, everything. And the subsidies that the government pays for us to enjoy the gas that we enjoy to drive our vehicles, water, light, everything. This is what is going to support and drive the economy. But people have to understand, and I hope they really truly get it, Dominic, because if they don't, Dominic, and we put this country back in the hands of those kleptomaniacs and those thieves, that will be the end of Trinidad and Tobago. This time we will make sure it has no coming back for us. We've spoken about this on a number of occasions. People have to begin to understand and say, listen, whatever happens, when Dr. Rowley calls that date, we must get up off our bed, say our prayers, and go and do what we need to do. Rain or shine. Don't wait till in the evening. Go in the morning and do what you need to do. And ensure that this government gets back into office and the UNC does not see the light of day. I had to listen to Russian Parry talking about he is concerned about Dr. Rowley's statement. Russian Parry is saying that between people before the court for criminal activity. You don't have a problem for 9 years. You're still between them, you're still staying on between them when the parliament opens again next week. You have no problem with that. You have no problem saying with a opposition leader who make deputy political leaders who before the court. You have no problem with that. But you consider what Dr. Rowley said. Dr. Rowley was quite to England. To the United States to talk with the Vice President to ensure that those high-powered weapons, something is done in support of Mexico. We must fight to the States to ensure, because we can't get justice in our own land, in our own courts, to ensure that these guys stay behind bars. Coming up with that, to my heart. Like any candle for the little 5-year-old. from Moruga? Yes. Huh? She say anything about it? She cried? She crocodile tears? No. I wonder why. People actually she come to the thing yesterday. Only one of them came with a better half. All them opposition members. They came with a better half or they came by themselves. She ain't coming because she had to walk up steps. What's she doing that? I don't understand what time it is. We have to get our acts together. And I want to tell Mr. Yates something. Well, Farage will always hate this government because I know he wouldn't pass off Patrick Manning because after he messed up Patrick Manning and went across to the UNC and then he left the UNC. He had no work. But in 2003, he came back crying to Patrick Manning and Patrick Manning gave him a work. He didn't give him a ministerial portfolio. But he came back in 2006 when he was hungry. He couldn't feed his family. It made papers on the Guardian of 2003. I remember what the exact month or date. But he came back begging Patrick Manning for a job. That is why you don't back up Patrick Manning. But Rowley? Yeah, he ain't like Rowley at all. Because Rowley left him right there. He's a grasshopper when it suits him. But we understand people like him, sir. And we will not be fooled.
At all.
Dominic, I want to thank you very much.
You're most welcome, sir.
Have a good day.
You too. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hey, Dominic.
Hey, boss. How are you going? Hello. Listen on the phone, people, not on the device. Hello, Mr. Chance.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
I am good, and yourself?
Well, quite good. This morning, I was very, very pleased with the center of your contribution this morning, gas.
Yes.
And first of all, I want to thank Mr. Yates. Very insightful comments on Farage and Jenny and lastly Brian. But I want to hook up onto that. I want to connect with particularly what the part of Brian's contribution and your good self. But first of all, I want to suggest to your listeners, I know not all of them call, they listen. I see the listenership is high.
Yes.
That the benefit of actually hearing all these good contributions and from our leader, Dominic Ruin, is to have conversations with other people about it. Don't keep it to yourself. There's no point in it. That's one vote. But you keep it to yourself. You see me? Talk to your neighbor, talk to your friends about it. Share the information that you're getting from the program. That is the benefit of the program. There is no other benefit if you alone benefit from it. Talk to your children who are over 18. Share that to them. There's no point, there's no benefit, and I'm sure all of us will get unless you share it. When I say share it, not only in the social media, conversations with other people. Your friends, your neighbors, your family, send little WhatsApp to people in other parts of the country. That information is critical for the future of other people. And let me tell you why. And Dominic pointed out all the different things, and I want to endorse them again. But the key reason why we have to pay attention to that is because it takes money to run a country. And the money is not grown on trees. You don't pick the money in a bag. People feel that, you're running the country. Every month, they'll only go in a bag and pick up money. We have to have a source of the money. We have to have a revenue. And the world knows, the international community knows that our spinal cord, our main source of revenue is gas. That is where we get the money to run the country. And let me tell you, just 4 or 5 of the revenue inputs you have to make to run this country. Do you know it takes $22.8 billion a year to pay salaries and wages? You get that? Where's that coming from? You think you have a tree picking that? You think I think the treasury and just pulling it out? You have to own it somewhere. $22.8 billion a year. The Minister of Finance has to find $1.9 billion every month to pay salaries and wages. Where's that coming from, people? That, in my view, is the critical message for 2025. Where the money coming from? Because if you want to maintain the standard of living or even get it higher, you have to get more money. Where the money coming from? The next, I want to point to education. The children go to school every morning. There's a money for that. Infrastructure, they build schools, to repair schools, to give scholarships, to give bursaries. $8 billion a year for that. Let us look at healthcare. $6 billion. You go to the hospital, and you get your healthcare and you come home and there's not a bill there. While it is free to you, it is not free. The state has to spend $6 billion. This billion I'm talking about, $6 billion a year. Tobago, they get 2.8 billion. And that is just a little slice of what I give you there. Where that money is coming from. And that is why Minister Stuart Young and Brian and Dominic's conversation is very important. They're telling you where the money coming from. Because we don't have so. The money coming from the gas. And that is why it is instructive when Dominic said that out of what the deals, the arrangements we have made, and I want to endorse that, I want to probably draw a line underneath that, is that the Manatee gas field has 2.7 trillion cubic feet of gas, You hear that? Trillion. It gives us 600 billion cubic feet per day. 600 million, it produces 600 million cubic feet of gas per day from 2027. You know that it's going to do for us? 600 million per day of gas. You know what it's going to do as Brian talk about the aquatic energy and the downstreamers and all of that? What that's going to do? That is going to be converted into money, because when we sell that, as Brian quite rightly said, the European markets are waiting. They are waiting on Trinidad and Tobago's petrochemicals and on Trinidad and Tobago's not LNG. They need that. They need a source that is ready and willing to link up with them, and Trinidad and Tobago is already, so that the Manatee is 2.7, and as Dominic said, the Dragon is 4.7 trillion cubic feet, And the Coquina Mannequin is 1 trillion. So you are seeing there, and that is the future of Trinidad and Tobago. Diversification will come, but that is where we have to get our money to run the country, to put food on our table, for healthcare, for education, for everything. That is how we get the money to run the country. And that is a source that has been made by a contract and an arrangement. That is a conversation I would like you to have, and I'm sure Dominic and all the other callers, with your friends, your neighbors, and other people. How are we going to get the money to run the country? And where the PNM is saying they're going to get the money to run the country. As Kamala Prasad, this processor, she wants to give policemen incentives. She wants to do all kind of things. Have 3 ministries. Where the money coming from, Kabla? It's coming from the Philippines, Kabla? You haven't told us one way. In fact, you told us that you're going to give the corporate sector 8%. Charge them 8% tax. The present government is between 30 and 35%. Come on, where are you getting that money from to do that? And that is why I stand firmly with the Prime Minister, the government, and on the other Stuart Young, and all the callers on this one when we talk about where the money is coming from and what we have got to do to make sure that Project 2025, I want you to see that as a Project 2025, the one good for your future. Because you have children, you have grandchildren, you have people coming on. That, in my view, is one of the key messages for 2025. Where the money is going to come from. The PNM is telling us where the money is going to come from because we have expenditure. We don't only have revenue, we have expenditure, and I gave you an idea of how serious it is. 22.8 billion for salaries and wages. You're wasting all your money. You're waiting to push in the card. You're waiting to put in the machine. Where that money coming from? Where the government get that money to pay you? The healthcare, when you're going to get this free, where the money coming from? The education, where the money coming from? You're waiting to get your disability grants. You're waiting to get your public assistance. You're waiting to get your pension, $3,500. All of that you're waiting for. Where the money coming from? I want to tell you it's coming from gas. The sale of gas, natural gas, and LNG. That is how we get the money to run the country. So we've got to back the persons who are giving us and helping us to get that money to run the country. I hope that message comes through, that we have to share the information from Dominic and all the callers you agree with. Talk to other people about it. It makes no sense. Just keep it for yourself because it's a matter of voting full past the post. Thank you very much for the time, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. But we take a couple more. Let me see what we have here. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Dominic!
Oh, Lord, Father.
What's going on?
All is well.
Look here, boys.
Greetings.
Let me say good morning to my sister. She went to work today, you know, Dominic, but she still listens to your program, you know.
Very nice.
You know, she's at
good
PNM.
stuff. She knows good stuff.
Dominic,
what bacchanal come in with this morning, this afternoon?
You notice when Dr. Rowley on that platform, he just be calling Mr. Manning name?
Really?
It's because he conscience killing him, Dominic. He conscience killing him, Dominic. Let me show you. Back in the days, he was on a platform giving a speech. And out of the blues, Dr. Rowley started to talk about hate. Dominic, he started to talk about hate. And how hate can consume you. They just want to talk about me. He said hate can consume you. I told him on the next radio station, he was speaking about himself, Dominic. He was speaking about himself because he allowed the hate to consume him against Mr. Manning. And not he alone, the former Prime Minister too. Look how much things she got rid of that Mr. Manning left there. And Dr. Rowley come at the end of the iguana tail and get rid of CNMG for them. Dominic, he was speaking about himself. His conscience killing him. Dominic, I will leave it there. Killing him.
Leave it there. You know what else you need to leave there? The hate you have for Dr. Rowley. The same way you said Dr. Rowley have hate for, leave your hate. All right? Well, let me just respond. I'm looking at the time here. So I probably have another 10 minutes or so. I am seeing on YouTube a gentleman by the name of Winston Batchelor. The truth is, the PNM has destroyed our oil and gas industry. That's why everyone is in Guyana making a living. Let me tell you something about Guyana that you didn't know. I'm sure you don't know. Guyana also has a sovereign wealth fund, right? Just like our Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Guyana is producing over 600,000 barrels of oil per day. Plenty money. ExxonMobil, Mr. Batchelor, has earned over $1 trillion since they've started operating and bringing the oil, bringing up the oil above ground in Guyana. Any post you see on Facebook with respect to what's happening in Guyana, CNC3, Trinidad Express posting stuff about what's happening in Guyana. When you go in the comments, you see in Guyanese citizens telling you they're not benefiting from it. The Guyanese government has made 3 withdrawals for the year so far from their Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Well, they call it the National Revenue Fund or something like that. They call it the NRF. 3 withdrawals. The first one was for 1.5 billion, 300 million, 200 million, right? So 300 million US, 200 million US, 1.5 billion US, so far for this year. You know how much money that is? Do the math. Do the math for me now, Mr. Batchelor. Since they're managing their oil money so well, 3 times for the year. You know what that works out to? Right. Roughly, that's $2 billion US. Multiply that by 7. That's 14 billion TT dollars. Our government has not withdrawn anything close to that over a couple of years, talking about it, right? But you want to tell us that is why things so great in Ghana? Really? And that this nonsense about, let me see it, with bad deals, here is nonsense. That, where is it? Just now. That the country is suffering because of bad deals and there is leakage. revenue leakage because of bad deals that the PNM government made with the energy companies. What bad deals? What bad deals did they make? You see, they could come on the chat and talk this stupidness, but give us specifics. What bad deals did they make? You just listen to Stuart Chung for a whole half an hour tell you about all the deals that the government is making, right? So that we can experience a gas boom, where everything is oil boom and oil boom. All you're talking about what's happening in Ghana, oil boom. But here it is that we are on the cusp of what could potentially be a gas boom. And you come in to talk rubbish about revenue leakage because of bad deals that they made with the energy company. What bad deals? It is the UNC and David Lee still pushing this nonsense, incentivize the energy companies for them to come and drill for oil and gas in Trinidad and Tobago and give them nice sweetheart concessions. Come and drill for oil, drill for gas, and whatever money you spend to drill, if it is your drill a dry well, you could write off the expense of that dry well against any royalties and taxes that you're liable to pay for the wells that you have in place right now. So what nonsense you're coming to talk about bad deals? Are you serious? You cannot be serious. Give us specifics. Where it says, which Ghana will have no problems paying back when they're producing thousand. What nonsense? Did you just hear me say Ghana is producing 615,000 barrels of oil per day? 615,000 barrels of oil per day, as it is right now, and yet still. So how come they're not earning? Why are they using the taxes and the royalties to fund the budget? Why they have to be taking money from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund? Well, their version of it. You feel if it is that Keith Rowley and Coleman Burt were to be funding the national budget from taking money from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, people like Mr. Bachelor will clap and say, yes, that making sense, and they go pay back when the gas money come. Stop talking rubbish from me, please now. Make sense. Look, I should have signed off a while ago. Brian, go ahead.
Very quickly. I just said that. When I was going to America earlier this year, the flight had to go to Guyana to pick up some people first. So I'm on the plane heading to New York. After Guyana, just say, so boy, you're making plenty, they gain plenty money for gas and things, boy. So what is the exchange rate now? How much you pay for a ticket? You say, boy, the exchange rate ain't really good already, you know. I say, what? Me think good on. Order oil, boy? Yeah, but the exchange rate ain't good on yet. We beating still.
And it won't go down.
You can imagine that?
It won't go down.
Huh?
It won't go down because the Bharat Jagdeo said they don't want it to go down. The government doesn't want it to go down.
So hold on. So I checked. They're still paying 210, we're going to from 210 to 207 and change the Guyanese dollars to $1 US.
And they're concerned about that. They want it to be around 240.
What is I understanding here? And when Farage giving them people, the president a A and our prime minister an F? Really? So it's not going down. They have to take out of their fund to supplement whatever revenue they're getting. Stephen Sanka would have been on BBC News, went down to Guyana and spoke to the president of Exxon and told him, he said, aren't you aware that you are scamming the people of Guyana with this contract? And don't you think it should be revised and renewed? He said, no. Stephen Sanka, BBC News, went down in Guyana and asked the president of Exxon that question. And he said, no. And that is why they're going to increase the how much oil they're getting from 600 to 1 million barrels a day. Because they recognize, listen, we only have so many years to extract all that we can and make the trillions of US dollars that they're making.
Yep.
And Ralph Farage, get open Ali and them a F, a A, and give Dr. Rowley a F. After Dr. Rowley gained back $17 billion for us, after what Kamla Prasad Bisesa, and that dummy, the Kuala Marai, who have a clue, along with MP Lee, who before the court, they have a clue about oil and gas. But Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young SC went and negotiated for us and brought back money into our economy for us, and then catching the backside down in Guyana, and then talking about airport finally, and Exxon exploiting them to the hilt. I was already must about $600 by now, and everybody happy.
Tanker gas.
Okay, have a good day.
Last call. But let me just say this, Winston, right? Ghana has a population of 800,000 people. 800,000. We have a population of double that, right? And their government withdrew the equivalent of $14 billion in the space of 7 months. This is as at the end of July, $14 billion of population of 800,000. With the kind of oil that they're producing, 600,000 plus barrels of oil per day, heading to 1 million per day. Come on. Everybody in Guyana, nobody in Guyana should be complaining about the cost of living with that kind of production. Nobody. We're producing less than 100,000 barrels of oil per day here, and still. So if we were producing that kind of production that Guyana has, over 600,000 barrels of oil per day, you know how much money our Heritage and Civilization Fund would have in it? We would be reporting, because we were able, with less than 100,000 barrels of oil per day in production, in 2022, we were able to realize a budget surplus of over $1 billion. So you could imagine if we were producing 600,000 barrels of oil per day, what our budget would look like. There would be no issues in this country. So it tells you, 800,000 people? Nah, man, you can't be serious. Well, you can't be serious. Wheel and come again. Let me take this call here. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, Dominic, how are you?
Hi, good man.
Dominic, boy, I don't know. How you deal with that story, baby? How you deal with it, boy?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I bet you are just in this country. But Dominic, you're right. If we had that money that again, there's no supposed to get them. We would have had the money to have the building rapid.
Of course. We wouldn't even need to borrow the money. The government could fund that from the budget.
Yeah. So people will complain every damn morning. So people the traffic, traffic because of that. No. Yeah? You know how long we want to get that traffic done? I get to shut it down. I know people complain about the traffic problem now.
Yes.
And I want to bring back to the country. And then some of them so disgusting and bold to say that it's clear to shut down the railroad. So I can see at the time go down. Because it's stupid to get shut down the country. You remember that?
Yep.
And they have this people who the TNM, which is going to be running, really think that don't like put some mind about. I don't understand why they was done. I want to tell Mr. Manhattan to bring it back. Our transit system is very important to the country. And also, I want to find out what's going on with the highway, Dominic. What's your people there?
Yes.
Right? That's also an important transit system too. But Mr. Manhattan has already said it is very difficult to run this country. I don't know, 1.3, 1.5 million people. And everybody fighting for the little government space. Because they be back and cause now with the quota now. And then I have a St. article in the EFTA saying, why don't we rename that? It could be that, governor. I can't understand this thing, boy. And come on, can you see every time they can have a trees like bazaar? In the time, people for that myself look at the come to go line. And people saying things are in this country. But all you have this nasty, dirty mindset saying you cannot eat, or if you eat it, at least eat something. That mentality. And if you these black people, boy, embarrassing. They believe we can eat people, people. So the people in this country. I don't want to vote them people back. And there's a chance to call the eating project 2025. following Vision 2035, because as far as I'm concerned, Project 2025 is a far right-wing evil project concerning Donald Trump. Okay? So thank you, everybody.
You too, sir. Let me just respond to one more thing I see Mr. Bachelor put here. He's saying Guyana has poor infrastructure. Get it here, right? Guyana has poor infrastructure, so they have a lot of fixing to do, but what are we doing with our money? I'm going to tell you what we're doing with our money. Every year, 85% of our national budget, Mr. Bachelor, and you could go and check it, goes to paying wages and salaries, transfers and subsidies. That's where it goes, 85% of the budget. But leaves 15% to pave road and to fix school and to build school and only one hospital. And the government must fund every little thing. Somebody house burned down, the government must come and get them a HTC house. Any little thing happen, right? Farmers go in and plant in areas where it is that they know it have flooding every year. You go and you plant there, rainfall, your crops wash away, right? Destroyed. You want compensation. That's the government for, because the government told you to go and plant there when you know it flooded. 85% of the budget, sir, goes towards paying wages and salaries, transfers and subsidies. You know what transfers and subsidies is? Let me tell you what it is. Pension. That's another thing we have to talk about, because I see this foolish, this guy who's the deputy political leader, the NTA, put out some dotish video on TikTok about the difference between, if you call it a grant and a pension, that if it's a pension, it's what way that you have to give it to the citizen. But we're going to talk about that on another day. All who receiving government pensions, the various grants, right? Disability grant, public assistance, all these things, house grant, right? The monies that the government spending for gate, all of those stuff, that is money that the government is giving to people for no work done. You understand? 85% of the budget goes to that. So it means the government has precious little left over to do all the other things that you want them to do. Every little thing is where the government comes in. So every time CNC3, every week doing 2-3 stories showing people who poor, and you read in the comments under, this is where the government's supposed to come in. And this is where the government's supposed to come in. So the government is supposed to put aside millions of dollars. We put in this here. So when somebody who chose to be irresponsible and went and have 10 children and can't support 2, yes, the government will step in and we will give them a grant. We'll get them baby grant, because Kamala Prasad Bissessa want to do that. All the things that the government, that you all want the government to do, to provide, pay for your children transportation to go to school. You want book grant, you want uniform grant. The government must provide them with meals, breakfast and lunch, and give you a food card or a grant so that you could buy groceries to get them dinner. So the government, you make, and the government will mind every single step of the way. Free schooling, all the things that the government has to pay so that your child can go to school for free. You all don't look at these things at all, but you're asking where the money going and where the money going. All of the debts that the People's Partnership undertook, the over $1 billion that they borrowed from the Chinese for the Cuba hospital, the money that they borrowed for the National Aquatic Center, the money that they borrowed for the National Cycling Center, for the Racket Center in Tacarigua, all of these things, they borrowed money from the Chinese, and these loans came due when this administration came in. So the government has to find the money every month to make sure that they pay the principal and the interest soon. When it is that they took the exchequer account from 10 billion in overdraft to 33 billion, the interest on that, this government has to find the money to pay that. You understand all of these different things? Money has to be paid for. When it is that the government has to buy stuff for the police service, cars, guns, when they have to buy ambulances, medication for the sick and the infirm, CDAP, all of these things, that is where the money is going. This administration built 3 hospitals here, one in Tobago, I mentioned that before, and Central Block is under construction. They bought 3 brand new ferries. How many did Kamala Prasad Bissessa buy? With the highest energy revenues in the country's history, she bought none. Not one. Leased the Superfast Galicia, and as Brian mentioned earlier, $50 million spent to dredge, right? Had the Superfast Galicia, then every time they start the engine, according to the Mute report, it would rock the foundation of the Hyatt till it caused infrastructural damage to the Hyatt, and the government had to find the money now to fix it. All of these things, this is where the money went, and this government has to find the money to pay back that. Educate yourselves. All the money they take out from NGC, the 16 billion, did you ask them where that money went? That extra 23 billion in the exchequer account that they put in overdraft, what was that money spent on? What did they build? Where is the equivalent of NAPA? Where is the UNC equivalent of SAPA? Where is the UNC equivalent of the government campus? Where is it? They built nothing of the sort. The biggest thing they probably spent money on was the licensing office in Caroni. They build a few roads, they pave a few roads and a few meters of road and tell you, hey, yeah, we do. Telling you they build 106 schools, but I started off today by telling you the bubble that was involved in that with people being paid millions of dollars, and they didn't, not even Mahama or Neil, $34 million in live sport by 400 million. Cooper Life, they give Shaq $10 million just to lift up camera so she could dunk a ball. And you all forget these things. But like to say PNM people voting based on race, something wrong with all. And you still asking where it is the money going. You serious? You see in Tobago what is happening? Take a peep. Hop on a plane and go across Tobago and see the new airport terminal that is being built in Tobago. After that little thing that they had there for so many years, look at the state-of-the-art airport terminal that is being built in Tobago. That could be the envy of so many other nations within CARICOM that's small like Tobago. How you feel that building? For free? But asking where the money went. Well, it cannot be serious. Let me take this last call and look to go and do something before I listen on my pressure. Shopping this. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Just to add what you rightly addressing to Winston Basilo. I call him Winston Brainless-Silo. Last week when you were mentioning the fact with Kamala Prasad Bisatter's so-called new draft manifesto, right? And you reiterated this morning the key word that he was looking for, and he was in the comments talking about it. Keyword free. He said, yes, I get my vote. Look how many things you get free. You pay them and give you nothing. I would have addressed him. He couldn't answer. He disappeared for a good few minutes during that program. Because all them care about is gimme, gimme. They want to regurgitate unnecessary stuff the UNC gives them to post and to say. But when you ask them to cite their source, well, you're watching the news? Yes, we do watch the news because Brian, when he called in earlier, said, hey, yeah, BBC sent one of their journalists to interview the president of the oil giant company, ExxonMobil. And they specifically told them what Mr. Basilo don't want to hear. Right? Also, when he actually cited a source on something important, he said the CIA reports that this country has a 20% poverty rate. So I just so many comments and say, okay, right. According to your source, well, that's not all that bad because according to people like you and the rest of the UNC supporters, we're suffering here. I presume the poverty rate is about 40-50% of the country. So I told him, well, according to what Mr. Chan said, because Mr. Chan's called on that same stream last week, if you go on United Nations website, you will see Trinidad and Tobago has a very high human developmental index. And you clearly see the so-called poverty rate, according to his data he presented, Mr. Basilo, it don't equate to what Mr. Chance reported. So that means the economy is now well safe going forward development cycle. Right? It does not equate to what Mr. Basilo and the UNC supporters want to portray out to be. Just take the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service plethora of qualified young people in agriculture, in business development, in the technical vocational field, in the programs for oil and gas, in the yachting industry. well-qualified people. So I want Mr. Brainless to call in and provide his facts and data to all the nonsense that he says in this chat room. Want to come here insulting people. When people step on his level and insult him back, he crying foul. Right now he disappeared from the chat. As I call him and address him because he has no facts to what he said. Only crying shame for this country, hoping that UNC comes in because all he cares about is what he heard the opposition leader says, free, 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 free. So he happy, he excited, he desperate. So that's all I want to say. Excellent program yet again, sir. Excellent program.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent program.
We will leave it there today for calls, folks. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Again, I will just respond to Mr. Bachelor with this nonsense about the infrastructure, the state of our infrastructure. It is being done. You all had an issue with the road to Manzanilla, which was destroyed under the People's Partnership. They fix it. Clearly didn't do a good job. All of you all were saying, wait till the rainy season come. What Rohanson and Anduin, well, the rainy season come. And what? It is there. The same way you all are quick to criticize. Why you don't go and take a drive on it and take a picture? And tell us what are the flaws and what are the issues. But the infrastructure, the roads are being paved. You know what you all wouldn't focus on? Everything is the government and the government, as the Prime Minister say. But the very same contractors who collecting billions of dollars every year to pave the roads, is there heavy equipment that running on the same road and damaging the roads? You think you will ever see any of these big contractors say, well, you know what? We are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And we see the situation with the road. Let us come together. Junior Sami, Kusal, Namalco, Calco, Danny's, all of these different. Why all of them can't come together and say, hey, what? Let us pool some resources and we will pave 50 kilometers of road for free. It don't need to be the main roads. Let us look for some of the back roads that really need work. But the government can't get to yet because they have to focus on the main roads. And as soon as they pave the highway, these heavy trucks coming from the quarries and so on that overloading. And then the road looking like the Bocas. So as fast as they pave it, within a matter of months, they have to come back and spend money to pave that again, when that money should be going to other roads. But you all don't focus on that. So why it is all of these big contractors who making hundreds of millions and billions of dollars every year in contracts can't come together and pave some roads for free? Or tell the government, here what? We give all your blight. We see the economic situation in the country right now. Right? So you all pay for the material, we will pay for the labor. Or the other way around. But they ain't doing that. They're using the same bloody roads. All the big heavy equipment using the same road, damaging it, and then just waiting for the government to come and give them billion-dollar contracts for them to pave it. But you all wouldn't come and ask them to contribute because they are citizens of the country and to be civic-minded. Corporate social responsibility. What do they contribute to? Tell me. Yeah, but it's the government and the government and the government. All right. Before you set up my blood pressure here, see this nonsense about election time and the roads are being paved? Since last year, stop being disingenuous and dishonest. Since March last year, the Prime Minister, in the wake of the over $1 billion budget surplus, said in January, as a matter of fact, that now that the government has the fiscal space, we are going to start on an aggressive road paving exercise. So for you to come and say, no, elections coming around and that is why roads are being paved, you're being disingenuous and very dishonest, Bachelor. Because since last year, March, this government has been paving roads. Miss us with our BS, man. We feel everybody here stupid and it's the waterfront ilk. We know. We've seen it since last year. Go and pull it up. Pull up the article. I don't have the time now to pull it up, but you all are being very dishonest. Our government they got 5 years in office. So if it is 6 months before an election they decide to do something, the fact of the matter is they got 5 years. 5. So this dotishness about election coming and election coming, well, it's because of election that 7 of them from the opposition went to the savannah yesterday to sit down to make their presence known. Because of an election, they did that to fool people. So miss us with that. Let me just take Jenny and then let me run out. Not today. Jenny.
You have to understand people like Winston and them just come to deliberately do what they're doing. No, it's true we have to, when they put up the foolishness, to correct it. But what has happened, they just keep putting up foolishness and then you end up just being stuck there. So we need to understand, you see them, they have a purpose, them have an agenda. And them agenda is just to aggravate. And we have to learn to understand sometimes to overs them. Because once we overs them, they'll have no voice. He was on my live on Friday. Getting on the same way. So it's a plan for them. The same way we have the agenda to teach people the truth. Them have an agenda to come and disrupt, throw off people off the topic, and to spread this information. But we ain't falling for them foolishness, Winston, and all who think like all you. We going past that. All the gloomers and doomers and spreading fear and hate. We conquering that with love. All you see what happened yesterday, people rejecting people like all you, so Winston boy. People rejecting Kamala Persad and the UNC and all the haters because people fed up because we ain't going back to that. We have positivity, we going forward, we have our challenges, and we will work it out because there's no country in the world that don't have the challenges. America have one set of crime, gun crime, increasing gun crime, but do you see them coming out and not celebrating independence? Do you see them fighting down the country? So we up on the game with them, Dominic. We spread love and positivity, and they can't take that because the only thing will help to run hate, run fear is love. And we will work hand in hand with any other race in this country to build this country and deal with the issues we have. So that we see them, Dominic. We see them, and that yesterday had them jumpy because they didn't realize that people in this country so patriotic. And the red color making them feel as PNM people. First they shocked. Like if everybody out there yesterday does vote for PNM. It's all kind of people was there. But the colors people love is the red, and that we hot in them, Dominic. They can't get over. Dominic, you have a blessed one. I go on.
You too, Jen. Let me just let Mr. Bachelor know where, right? You just go on Google, PM, mass roadworks to start after the rainy season. And this was in the 21st of November, 2022. With land slippages occurring across various parts of South Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is promising mass roadworks as soon as the rainy season is over. Speaking at the PNM's Women's League held at Achievers Banquet Hall in San Fernando on Sunday afternoon, Rowley said the government is borrowing a significant amount from the Andean Bank to assist with road infrastructure. The Prime Minister also sought to explain why the road infrastructure was collapsing all around the country, admitting that road maintenance had not been a priority over the past few years. When we gave priority to our life and limb and our economy, we neglected because we didn't have the resources, the road maintenance program. He explained road maintenance program was not out front as it should have been. Now we are moving on to that. And then we discovered that Lake Asphalt isn't producing anything marketable from the lake. It was surviving largely by being a bitumen seller from the Petrotrin refinery. The refinery is no longer there in Petrotrin restructuring, but Lake Asphalt could be there. And so we fixed that. And he explained that recently the Minister of Finance made money available to Lake Asphalt to create a product for road works. He promised, so as soon as the rain stopped falling, you can't pave roads and you can't do road work when it's raining. So as soon as the rain stops falling, you will see significant activity with respect to road reinstatement. So let me just take Eric and then I go on there. Because if I stay here, Bachelor will keep me here until this evening. I think so. Eric.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I say no. Dominic, can I say something? You see them Bachelor and these fellas and them, they have an agenda. They are out to disrupt a good going. You understand? So I think it's only fair and only wise that, yes, they might love the little interaction with some of them, but to save himself from problem, I think just block him and done. Because he have been blocked on the page, so he cannot come there and talk any foolishness. You understand? They are set out, they have an agenda. You see how you bring the facts to the people, and to the listeners and viewers? They have an agenda to disrupt, right? That what you saying is not what they are being listening to on the opposition side. So they prefer listen to misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, lies, deception. And they feel that they can come and fool people with that rhetoric. But they feel that on this program, on this page, it has people don't know history. It has Mr. Yates, it has Mr. Chance, it has Brian, it has Jenny, it has me, it has a few of them very well silent listeners on this program. That from the time they started to talk off We come in with the facts. And that is what they can't take. You see, facts is something that the UNC opposition in this country cannot handle. That is why they were sending threats to Google on the radio station on last week. Because like the clipping he plays on his program, it had bugging the 47 program on the evening. So people outside there now started to hate on Pastor Google when he walked out to go by evening. It's interesting, the man, allegedly. You understand? So Dominic, you continue doing what you're doing, and you have the support of us behind you. You understand? Let us continue. Forget about Winston Basilo. Blocky, because he's a persona non grata. Right? Good program, Dominic. You be safe, brother.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, now we come with nonsense about millions to remove the ships. Prime Minister Dr. Rowley, I'm not even going there. Dr. Rowley dealt with that comprehensively last week, Thursday. So if you didn't listen to the press conference, there's something wrong with you. Go back and play it. Go on TTT online live and see if you could find it and listen to what the Prime Minister say, why they going on cost no set of millions. Yeah, but that is the propaganda and chop it talk what they like to share. Yeah, because you all just cannot embrace the good things that are happening. Spent how much time this point playing for Stuart Chung, and you have nothing to say about what Stuart Chung said. You have nothing to say about all of the gas projects that will be coming online in 2027. And money will be flowing. You have nothing to say about that. Right? But anyway, it's in your best interest for Kamala Prasad-Bissessar to come back. I don't know, maybe you're hoping for baby grant or food card or something. Folks, thank you all for joining me this Sunday. I went well over time, almost 4 hours. Yeah? So we'll chat again on Tuesday morning. We continue the conversation. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, which, depending on which part of the country you're in, might be rainy. Keep safe if you're out on the black carpet. And yeah. So, all right, enjoy the rest of it.